Prime Minister Shah pledges stronger ties with friendly nations. Nepal commits to partnerships based on trust and mutual benefits. Nepal's House to elect Deputy Speaker on Friday. Lawmakers call for disaster relief and social reforms in this session. Arrest warrant issued for former Prime Minister Dewa and his spouse. Probe targets assets amid corruption investigation. Nepal's Education Ministry orders private schools to refund illegal fees, warns of legal action against non-compliance. US and Iran announce a suspension of all attacks for 2 weeks in exchange of Strait of Hormuz opening. Iran says upcoming talks do not mean the end of war is guaranteed. And Bagmati beats Koshi by 7 wickets in Prime Minister Cup. Koshi suffers 6th straight loss, falls out of top 4 race. Good evening, I am Sarah Sapsanamarai and this is NTV World Prime Time News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Across the globe, it's 13:15 in London, 20 to 15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Ambassadors and heads of diplomatic missions resident in Kathmandu paid a joint courtesy call on Nepal's Prime Minister Balendra Shah at his office in Singhdarbar today. Representatives from India, Pakistan, South Korea, the United Kingdom, Qatar, Switzerland, France, Israel, Japan, Bangladesh, Germany, Egypt, Sri Lanka, Saudi Arabia, China, the US and the United Nations attended the meeting. The envoys congratulated the Prime Minister and conveyed greetings and messages from their respective heads of state and government. They also expressed their support and willingness to cooperate with Nepal's new administration to deliver results for the benefit of Nepali people. Highlighting Nepal's balanced and pragmatic foreign policy, Prime Minister Shah underscored the importance of deepening relations with immediate neighbors, friendly nations and development partners based on trust, mutual respect and shared prosperity. The Prime Minister expressed appreciation for the continued goodwill and support extended to Nepal's development initiatives. Emphasizing that peace must remain a shared priority, the Prime Minister also highlighted the government's commitment to ensuring the safety, security and well-being of Nepali workers and the broader Nepali diaspora abroad. Nepal's House of Representatives will hold the Deputy Speaker election on Friday. House Speaker Dol Prasad Aryal, under Rule 8 of the House's Rules of Procedure, announced the date today at the House sitting. Today's session also included the presentation of the 7th Annual Report of National Natural Resources and Finance Commission by Minister Geeta Chaudhary and a proposal for the Alternative Development Finance Mobilization Bill by Finance Minister Swarnim Wagle. Lawmakers urged the government to set a minimum tea price, address Dalit discrimination, support Jajarkot earthquake victims, regulate broader traffic, establish a trauma center in Sarlahi and ensure timely fertilizer supply. The next House meeting has been scheduled for Friday at 4 p.m. Meanwhile, during today's zero-hour debate in the National Assembly, Member of Parliaments echoed concerns raised in the lower house earlier this week, calling on the government to ensure timely provision of fertilizers, seeds and other agricultural inputs to support farmers. Members also urged the government to tackle rising petroleum prices, strengthen long-term plans for agricultural self-reliance and invest in underdeveloped regions like Karnali, despite its abundant natural resources. Lawmakers highlighted urgent social issues, including February 30 rape case in Subsidiary, and demanded immediate government action for justice. The upper house member Rekha Kumari emphasized protecting crops from wildlife damage while ensuring farmers have the resources they need. The National Assembly's calls mirror the House's recent discussions on development, good governance and citizen welfare, signaling coordinated pressure across Nepal's legislature. An arrest warrant has been issued against Nepal's former Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Dewa and his wife, former Foreign Minister Dr. Arju Rana Dewa. The district court granted the warrant following an investigation into their assets, initiated by the Home Ministry under the provisions of the Asset Purification and anti-corruption laws. Authorities have confirmed that the Dewa couple is currently abroad. The warrant marks a notable development in the ongoing probe into alleged irregularities in their financial and property dealings. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nepal has presented the Foreign Affairs and Diplomatic Code of Conduct to all ministers in the government, led by Prime Minister Balendra Shah. The presentation, delivered by Foreign Secretary Amrit Bahadur Rai at the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers office in Singhadarbar, covered Nepal's international relations, foreign policy priorities and promotion of national interests. In his presentation, Foreign Secretary Rai had given special emphasis to the priorities of Nepal's foreign policy, the balance of relationships, and the technical aspects of diplomatic protocol. Special emphasis was given to balancing relationships, adhering to diplomatic protocol, and understanding both general etiquette and technical aspects during meetings with foreign officials.
पछि राजदूतज्यूहरूले मन्त्रीज्यूहरू प्रधानमन्त्रीज्यूलाई औपचारिक रूपमा भेट्ने चलन छ र आफ्नो
The Ministry of Education, Science and Technology has directed private schools in Nepal that collect fees above approved standards to return the amounts to students and warned of legal action against non-compliant institutions. The ministry had earlier issued instructions to correct practices where some schools were admitting students before the official start of the academic session and charging fees exceeding legal limits in violation of the Education Act and Supreme Court orders. Despite these instructions, complaints persist that certain schools continue to charge unlawful fees. Under Section 166 of the Education Act, Amendment 2028, the ministry has reiterated that any illegally collected fees must be refunded, and failure to comply will lead to further legal proceedings. To assist students and parents, the ministry has also established a help desk at the Education and Human Resource Development Center to report complaints and facilitate refunds. We're going for a short break here. More news coming up. Do stay with us. You're watching NTV World and this is Primetime News. Welcome back. Mustang, a high-altitude district in Nepal's upper Himalayas, has experienced its 7th snowfall of the season. Snow was reported overnight in Baraganj, Mukti Kshetra and the upper Mustang region. Earlier, snowfalls occurred last Saturday and Monday, with the first snowfall recorded in late October. Despite summer having begun, the persistent snow is disrupting tourist travel to the famous Muktinath Temple and other areas of Upper Mustang. Local officials say pilgrims face difficulties navigating the mountainous terrain, and residents are struggling with colder than usual conditions. Meteorologists attribute the unusual weather to a westerly low-pressure system combined with local winds. Light to moderate snowfall and rain are expected across Nepal's hilly and mountainous regions, with some areas experiencing thunderstorms, lightning and hail. Moderate rainfall with storms is forecast for the next 2 days for parts of Koshi, Bagmati and Madhesh provinces. Overnight, widespread cloudy skies and rainfall are expected in several provinces, including Koshi, Madhesh, Lumbini, Karnali and Sudar Paschim. Now, a clash broke out between two groups of inmates at Kanchanpur prison on Wednesday, leaving 5 prisoners injured. The injured include Bhuvan Ayer, Om Prakash Gadheri, Bhuvan Nath, Ayush Bam and Raju Damai. Authorities say the altercation erupted at night after one group allegedly caused a disturbance while others were sleeping. All 5 suffered minor head injuries and were taken to Mahakali Provincial Hospital for treatment, according to Kanchanpur Police Chief Khadak Bahadur Khatri. The inmates involved have been detained on various charges. A fire broke out last night in Odare, Ward number 4 of Tripura Sundari Rural Municipality in Thading District, Central Nepal, destroying a local farm and a home. The blaze at resident Jivan Thapa's property killed approximately 60 goats and chickens and severely damaged farm structures. Preliminary estimates put the loss at around $55,000. Authorities are investigating the cause of the fire. Nepal has approved the conversion of petrol and diesel vehicles into electric under its 100 Action Plan, aiming to cut emissions and fuel imports. The decision allows older vehicles to be retrofitted, removing previous legal restrictions. Authorities are now preparing a framework to regulate implementation, although concerns over high conversion costs remain among the public. Sabika Shrestha brings more.
The government's approval on converting internal combustion engine ICE vehicles into electric vehicles EVs is Nepal's yet another step toward cleaner and more sustainable transportation. For a country that stands as one of the top 5 importers of EVs in the world, the cabinet decision allows older petrol and diesel vehicles to be retrofitted with electric systems. Though the policy-level decision has been done, the nitty-gritties are yet to be cleared. As per existing law, modifying the engine of any vehicle is illegal in Nepal. The cabinet decision has removed the long-standing legal barriers that previously prohibited modifications to a vehicle's original structure. The move is expected to extend the lifespan of aging vehicles while reducing the country's heavy reliance on imported fossil fuels. Targeting high-emission vehicles, the policy prioritizes petrol cars older than 15 years and diesel vehicles over 10 years, many of which were nearing mandatory phase-out. Ministry of Physical Infrastructure and Transport will now develop a detailed regulatory framework within 3 months. The plan includes establishing certified conversion centers, approving standardized EV kits, and ensuring safety and quality control. Officials say the initiative builds on successful pilot projects led by innovators, including the National Innovation Center, demonstrating the feasibility of local EV conversion.
नेपाल सरकारले चाहिँ आइस भेहिकल भन्छ हैन डिजल पेट्रोलबाट चल्ने सवारीहरूलाई चाहिँ विद्युतीय ऊर्जाबाट चल्ने सवारीमा परिवर्तन गर्ने त्यसले कन्भर्जन भन्छ हैन कन्भर्जन गर्ने नीति चाहिँ ल्याएको छ अब त्यो नीतिसँग मिल्ने गरी हामीले अब मापदण्डहरू त्यो गर्दाखेरि के प्रक्रिया अपनाउनु पर्ने कसले गर्ने कसरी गर्ने भन्ने कुराहरुको लागि एउटा कार्यविधि जस्तो हुनुपर्छ त्यो कार्यविधि बनाउनको लागि अब त्यसको लागि विज्ञको टोली हुन्छ प्राविधिकहरुको टोली हुन्छ त्यो टोली मार्फत त्यो काम हुने हो त्यो काम गर्न बाँकी छ अहिले.
However, concerns over multiple issues related to conversion remains to be answered.
पेट्रोलहरु बढिरहेको वातावरणको प्रदूषणको कारणले एकदमै राम्रो छ तर अलि हिजो साझा बसको 80 लाख रह्यो भन्ने सुन्दाखेरि अलि बढी खर्चिलो भयो कि त्यसलाई मितव्ययी कसरी बनाउने त्यसको लागि हामी पनि एकदमै इन्ट्रेस्ट छौं हाम्रो पनि त ठुलठुला गाडीहरु टोयोटाका गाडीहरु अब 25 वर्ष पिएर कमर्सियल युज गर्ने गाडीलाई तपाई प्राइभेट बनाउन खोज्दै अलिकति गाह्रो भइरहेको छ अलि मितव्ययी रूपमा आयो भने एकदमै राम्रो स्वागतयोग्य छ.
With Nepal increasingly leveraging its hydropower resources, the policy is expected to align the transport sector with domestic clean energy, marking a significant step toward a greener future. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
International news lined up next. For now, a short break. The United States and Iran reached a ceasefire agreement just under 90 minutes before President Trump's 8 p.m. deadline, which was backed with the threat that a whole civilization would die. As part of the deal brokered by Pakistan, the US and Israel agreed to suspend bombing for 2 weeks, while Iran committed to reopening the Strait of Hormuz for maritime traffic. The agreement, being called the Islamabad Accords, was based on a 10-point Iranian proposal, with further negotiations set for Islamabad this Friday. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, who has been the key intermediary, said the ceasefire takes effect immediately and covers Lebanon as well, although Israeli Prime Minister's office later said the deal does not extend to the fighting in Lebanon. Markets responded sharply, with international oil prices falling 13% and US stock futures rising more than 2% on the news. World leaders have welcomed the announcement of a 2-week ceasefire between the US and Iran, aimed at pausing hostilities and reopening diplomatic channels. China said it supports mediation efforts and has made its own contributions to encourage a truce.
الجميع كان ينتظر الأخبار تطور المباحثات وكان الجميع
Israeli airstrikes struck areas around Sidon despite the 2-week ceasefire agreed between the US and Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Lebanon is not included in the truce, citing security concerns.
Nous l'avons dit et redit depuis le début de ce conflit, depuis près de 40 jours. C'est en effet par la négociation que nous pourrons apporter les garanties de sécurité nécessaires.
Lebanese Parliament member Abdul Rahman Bizri condemned the attacks, calling for Lebanon to be included in ceasefire talks. Now, international oil prices fell by 13% following the US-Iran ceasefire announcement, one of the sharpest single-day drops in years as markets price in the prospect of the Strait of Hormuz reopening. Before the ceasefire, US crude had surged above $113 a barrel, with the US Energy Information Administration forecasting gasoline prices could peak at $4.30 a gallon this month. The Iran war had caused Gulf states to collectively shut in an estimated 7.5 million barrels per day of crude oil production in March, with that figure expected to rise to 9.1 million barrels this month. However, the drop may be short-lived. The EIA cautioned that Middle East oil production is unlikely to return close to pre-conflict levels until late 2026, even if the strait reopens. A nighttime Russian strike hit the Romny community in Sumy region, Ukraine, on April 8, killing at least one person and injuring 3 others. Firefighters battled multiple fires caused by the strike, working under the ongoing threat of additional attacks. Romny, located near Ukraine's northeastern border, has been repeatedly targeted since the conflict escalated last year. The strike destroyed homes and infrastructure, forcing emergency crews to provide aid to affected residents. The attack comes amid continued military operations in the region, highlighting the persistent risks to civilians. More international news to come. For now, a short breather. North Korea fired multiple ballistic missiles on both Tuesday and Wednesday, 2 back-to-back launch days, with South Korea's military detecting the Wednesday launch from the Wonsan area toward the East Sea. The missiles traveled approximately 150 miles. It marks the 4th confirmed ballistic missile test by Pyongyang this year. The launches came after South Korean President Lee Jae-myung expressed regret on Monday over civilian drone flights into North Korea in January, calling the incursions irresponsible. U.S. Indo-Pacific Command said it is consulting closely with allies and assessed the launches pose no immediate threat to U.S. personnel, territory, or its allies in the region. The consecutive launches are widely seen as Pyongyang's pointed response to Seoul's peace overtures. Violence erupted in the town of Vishnupur in the northeastern Indian state of Manipur, leaving 4 people dead, including 2 children. Smoke rose from smoldering vehicles as injured residents were treated in local hospitals. Authorities imposed a partial internet shutdown to prevent the spread of misinformation amid unrest. Manipur, which shares a border with Myanmar, has faced repeated communal and ethnic tensions in recent months. Officials say security forces have been deployed to restore order and prevent further clashes. NASA's Artemis II crew, 4 astronauts aboard the Orion spacecraft, is now on its way back to Earth after completing a record-breaking trip around the moon, traveling farther from Earth than any humans ever before. The crew set a new record on April 6th, reaching a distance of 252,760 miles from Earth, surpassing the previous mark set by the Apollo 13 mission in 1970. During the lunar flyby, the crew witnessed and photographed a total solar eclipse from behind the moon, a sight never before seen by human eyes. Splashdown is scheduled for Friday, April 10th, off the coast of San Diego, California. The mission, in fact, is part of NASA's broader Artemis program. It aims to return astronauts to lunar surface as early as 2028. And with that, we move on to sports update. Koshi Province suffered its 6th consecutive defeat in the Prime Minister Cup National One-Day Cricket Tournament after losing to Bagmati Province by 7 wickets in today's match in Janakpur. Koshi had set a modest target of 100 runs, which Bagmati chased down in just 9 overs for the loss of 3 wickets. Bagmati captain Sandeep Lamichhane starred with the ball, taking 5 wickets for 33 runs in 7.2 overs. Other bowlers contributing to Koshi's collapse included Rijan Thakal with 2 wickets, while Pratish GC and Ishan Pandey took 1 wicket each. Bagmati now has 6 points and sits in 7th position. Koshi, which shared points in its opening match, remains with just 1 point from 7 matches and is out of contention for the top 4 spots. In another match today, Madhya Province defeated Gandaki by 18 runs under the Duckworth-Lewis method. Before wrapping up, here's a look into the top stories once again. Prime Minister Balendra Shah pledges stronger ties with friendly nations. Nepal commits to partnerships based on trust and mutual benefits. Nepal's House to elect Deputy Speaker on Friday. Lawmakers call for disaster relief and social reforms in the session. Arrest warrant issued for former Prime Minister Dewa and his spouse. Probe targets assets amid corruption investigation. Nepal's Education Ministry orders private schools to refund illegal fees, warns of legal action against non-compliance. US and Iran announce a suspension of all attacks for 2 weeks in exchange of Strait of Hormuz opening. Iran says upcoming talks do not mean the end of war is guaranteed, and Bagmati beats Koshi by 7 wickets in Prime Minister Cup. Koshi suffers 6 straight loss, falls out of top 4 race. And that is all for the moment here on Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media pages and also get the latest update through our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I am Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thanks for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting, PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World. Facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries.
Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Shall we start now?
I'll try my best.
Okay. Your best performance, okay?
The most important innings for me would be the Nepal versus Hong Kong game. And I scored 41 runs because that match, it was one step into the World Cup. And for me, I remember going into that game, I thought I will not hit the ball in the air at all because if I stayed in the crease and scored runs, meant that Nepal had better chances of winning. And those 41 runs in that game would probably be the most valuable innings that I've ever played, where I got run out.
What a wonderful shot.
That every run, if I think of it now, would probably be the time when I took the most pressure during my whole 20 years of career, but those would be the most important runs of my career.
Best Nepali batsman of all time?
It's difficult. Why? Because I have seen a lot of great players, and you look at the current batch of cricketers, meant that everyone's been performing exceptionally well. If I really had to pick one name, just from a talent perspective, who did not play as much for Nepal but was extremely talented, was Sandeep Shrestha. He played few matches for Nepal, but just looking at him, he was so casual at how he played the sport.
I can't agree with you anymore. Best coach you have played under?
If I really had to pick one person, would be Pubdu, because that transformation of Nepal cricket from 11 to 16 while he was here, and we qualifying for the World Cup was an important moment.
Most difficult opponent you have played against?
Obviously, Afghanistan and Nepal always, gets compared. I remember playing Afghanistan's first match in 2005, and then they wanted to become a test playing nation in 2016.
Best bowler you have faced, or the most difficult bowler you have ever faced?
I think Basant Rigmi easily is the best bowler that I played. I keep saying Sandeep played the IPL. He's gone on to play all leagues all over the world. He's been phenomenal. But Basant Rigmi, if let's say had got the platform back in the day from a fast bowler who turned into a left arm spinner, probably the best bowler that I have faced, and at one point he was probably the best left arm spinner and somebody who nobody could hit.
Best upcoming talent?
I think Gulshan Jha, the potential that he has as an all-rounder, and he's left-handed. Obviously, there's a lot more things that he needs to add up into his game, but he has potential to really grow into something.
Best Nepali bowler?
Would be Binod Das. I think he was probably the best fast bowler that I played. I mean, Sompal and Karan have carried the nation's burden for the last 10 years, but Binod Das was probably the best fast bowler.
He was the leading fast bowler in the associate countries at his peak as well. 2014 T20 World Cup qualification or 2018 ODI status?
It has to be the World Cup, and I really can't pick between the two. Why? Because the ODI status is important for the overall, setup of how a cricket nation functions at the associate world. But qualifying for the World Cup and playing the World Cup meant that cricket became important to this nation. So I would definitely pick the World Cup.
Best ever performance under your captaincy, Nepal's?
3 matches we played at the World Cup.
14 World Cup.
Because at the global stage, we never played under floodlights. We went into Dubai a week ago. And also when you are young, I think we were a young team. We had no fears. We were a strong unit, backed by good coaching. Whatever that we had, we were happy about it. And that moment where we were presented in front of the world, we did not crumble. Playing against Hong Kong, playing against Afghanistan, and competing against Bangladesh, meant that that is when we made our first significant impact. So those 3 matches would probably be the best performance. But if you go through the Division 5, 4, 3-2 cycle, I mean, every tournament has its own story, and it's been an incredible journey.
Best batsman in world cricket you admire?
Has to be Brian Charles Lara. Got to see him in Nepal as well, so he was a genius.
He was a genius. Best all-rounder in world cricket?
Jack Callis, easily.
All right.
When you look at his batting stats, his bowling stats, there's no comparison to what he has achieved.
Exactly. Best bowler in world cricket all time?
Shane Warne. I'll probably say he's the greatest cricketer that played the sport.
True. You are a big Aussie fan as well?
I follow the Australian cricket team.
Best captain in world cricket all time?
If I really have to go back old school, it would have to be Stephen Fleming. Fleming was a great leader, left-handed batter, and is still coaching the Chennai Super. A great cricket mind, and even Ricky Ponting. If you think of the fact that he had to lead this team of gladiators and had to captain them, Steve Waugh led by examples, India. But if I had to pick one person, if it's a name, Stephen Fleming. Although he didn't win championships, but had a lot of respect with everybody around and still does.
Paras, let's sit down now. Let's create Nepal's all-time 11, all formats.
It's going to be difficult.
It's going to be difficult. Let's try.
Sandeep Shrestha is opening. Then you'd probably pick maybe Kushal
Bhurtel. Parishloni opening. Fantastic.
2. Then number 3 would be Gyanendra Malla.
Superb.
Number 4.
Let's try.
Number 4 would be Dipender Singh Airi.
Dipender Singh Airi, of course.
Him at number 4. Okay. Sarath Visagar at 5.
5.
Raju Kharka at 6.
6.
Then Sakti Gautam at 7.
7.
Basant Ragmi at 8.
8.
Sandeep Lamichhane at 9. Binod Das.
Okay.
And it'll be difficult between Sompal and Karan.
All right.
Because both of them, so depending on the format, because both have been great match winners, which means that if it's ODI, I would pick Sompal.
Being diplomatic here.
If it's ODI, I mean, if it's T20, I would pick Karan. So that's the playing 11. Sandeep
Shrestha, number 1.
Kushal Bhurtel, Gyanendra Malla at 3. Dipender Singh Airi at 4. Sarath Visagar at 5. Raju Kharka at 6. Sakti Gautam at 7. Basant Ragmi at 8. Sandeep Lamichhane at 9. Binod Das at 10. And 11 would be
either Sompal or Karan.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. All-rounders, please rank. Raju Kharka?
1. Dipender Singh Airi 2.
All right.
Sakti Gautam 3.
All right.
Gulshan Jha 4.
All right.
Mehboob Alam at 5. So
Mehboob Alam at 5.
Hello and welcome to The Perspective on NTV World. I am Sabika Shrestha, your host for the weekly current affairs program. Here we bring you the major developments of the week and examine how they shape the road ahead. The government this week rolled out key decisions from reinstating the two-day weekend to setting the tone through the first parliamentary session. At the same time, developments at home and abroad from rescue efforts to rising prices continue to impact daily life. Nepal has officially reinstated the two-day weekly holiday. Starting from April 6, government offices and educational institutions will remain closed on Saturdays and Sundays. While aimed at conserving foreign exchange, the move has reignited debate over productivity.
Kathmandu's streets are as crowded as ever, but the fuel powering them is becoming a luxury the state can ill afford. Today, the Council of Ministers pulled a familiar lever, the Sunday holiday. The Council of Ministers, led by Prime Minister Balendra Shah, finalized the decision during a Sunday session at Singhadarbar, the government's administrative headquarters. Government spokesperson Minister Sashmit Pokhrel confirmed that the primary driver is the disruption of global energy trades following the virtual closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
पेट्रोलियम आपूर्तिमा उत्पन्न असहजताका कारण 82 चैत 23 गतेबाट लागू हुने गरी सरकारी कार्यालय तथा सम्पूर्ण शैक्षिक संस्थाहरूमा शनिबार र आइतबार बिदा दिने तथा शैक्षिक संस्था बाहेक उल्लेखित कार्यालयहरूको कार्यालय समय 9 देखि 5 बजे कायम गर्ने.
The government spokesperson confirmed that reducing the movement of state-owned vehicles and school buses by just one day could slash consumption by up to 20%. Former Prime Minister Dr. Baburam Bhattarai was quick to lend his weight behind the move. Dr. Bhattarai noted that his own administration had envisioned this shift years ago. According to Dr. Bhattarai, the extended daily hours ensure that total working time is not lost, but rather concentrated for better output per hour and familial peace. But on the digital front, the general happiness is tempered by skepticism. Critics point to the failed experiment of 2 decades ago and most recently in 2022, when a similar trial was scrapped after a few months due to plummeting service delivery standards. Economists are raising the alarm too. Netizens, meanwhile, are asking if the government couldn't provide efficient service in 6 days, how will they manage in 5? Others, however, are welcoming the global standard, noting that aligning Nepal's weekend with the international Sunday closure will streamline international trade and diplomatic communications. To complement the holiday, the cabinet has also fast-tracked legal frameworks to convert existing petrol and diesel government vehicles into electric vehicles. With petrol prices hitting an all-time high of 202 rupees per litre in Kathmandu, the government is betting that this weekend shock will accelerate the nation's transition toward energy independence. As the first Sunday holiday kicks in this weekend, all eyes will be on the Nepal Oil Corporation's balance sheets and the public's patience.
Now moving from policy decisions to the political arena, the first session of the House of Representatives began this week. The second consecutive session on Sunday also elected the Speaker of the Nepal's lower house, Dol Prasad Aryal. At the start of the session, leaders expressed cautious optimism despite mixed reactions from the opposition. Let's take a look. The session held at the multipurpose hall of the under-construction Federal Parliament building commenced with a moment of silence in tribute to martyrs, including those who lost their lives during the recent Gen-Jet protest movement. The session was presided over by Arjun Narsingh Kesi, the senior-most lawmaker acting as a Speaker of the House of Representatives. Following the tribute, party leaders addressed the House outlining their priorities and expectations from the new parliament. Leaders across the political spectrum were seen enthusiastic and optimistic, expressing commitment to deliver more effective governance and accelerated legislative work. However, the session also witnessed the mixed reactions from opposition parties, with some raising concerns over procedural clarity and the government's immediate agenda, while others stressed the need for stronger accountability mechanisms from the outset. UML leader Kshitij Thebe emphasized the importance of a smooth and structured start to parliamentary proceedings, highlighting institutional stability and cooperation among parties as key priorities.
पहिलो निर्णय नै हाम्रो गम्भीर असहमति छ। देश द्वन्द्वमा लग्यो, प्रतिशोध साध्यो, देशमा कोही पनि सुरक्षित छैनन् भन्ने सन्देश दियो, निषेधको राजनीति गर्यो, यसले सही बाटो लिएको छैन।
Meanwhile, Rashtriya Swatantra Party's Ranju Darsana said the focus would be on setting a clear direction for governance, with an emphasis on faster decision-making and tangible outcomes through upcoming sittings.
It was more of a technical day because the formal house, the tabling of the bills have not yet properly started. For that, we will have to do a lot of homeworks, of course.
The first session has set the tone for the new parliament, with high public expectations for decisive policy making, improved service delivery, and meaningful political consensus in the days ahead.
For a while, shifting beyond borders amid escalating tensions in the Middle East, Nepal has repatriated over 200 citizens. Rescue flights also brought back the remains of Nepalis who died abroad.
Nepal government on Saturday rescued 247 people from the conflict-hit Middle Eastern nations. Among those brought back home from Dubai via Nepal Airlines aircraft includes one infant and a child. Others are 192 men and 53 women. The aircraft also brought back 4 bodies of Nepalis who died under various circumstances in the Gulf countries.
काठमाडौँसम्म पुर्याइदिनुस् भन्नुभयो हामीसँग सँगै राखेर लिएर आयौं हामीले तर उहाँको घर पाल्पा हो उहाँ बोल्न पनि त्यति राम्रोसँग आउँदैन.
In the latest conflict in the Middle East region, owing to the war between US, Israel and Iran, 7 Nepalis were injured. This happened after drone debris fell in the Ajman region of Abu Dhabi, UAE. The escalating conflict has put the lives of hundreds of thousands of Nepali workers who live in the region at risk, according to those who have been rescued and returned home. So far, 1 Nepali has died and 21 have been injured due to the ongoing Middle East conflict, and more than 86,000 Nepalis have registered their details in the online system provided by the Department of Consular Services to monitor and assess for potential rescue or evacuation efforts. Authorities have urged Nepalis to remain on high alert and stay in contact with their respective embassies. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said embassies have been placed on high alert and are continuously monitoring the situation. Currently, bodies of 38 Nepalis who lost their lives across various Middle East countries unrelated to the war are awaiting repatriation. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs cites the disrupted flights as complicating the process of management and transportation of the remains. Although the process of bringing bodies from cities such as Riyadh, Dubai, Jeddah and Abu Dhabi is ongoing, progress has been slow.
अहिले चाहिँ नि भर्खरै दुबईबाट प्यासेन्जरहरू लिएर चाहिँ नि त्यो फ्लाइट चाहिँ नेपाल फर्किएको छ. त्यसमा मैले केही यात्रुहरूसँग कुरा गर्दाखेरि कतिपयको स्थिति ठिकै रहेको मैले पाएँ भने कतिपय यात्रुहरूले स्थिति अत्यन्तै असहज भएको र नेपाल एयरलाइन्सले यो फ्लाइट गरेकोमा नेपाल एयरलाइन्सलाई धन्यवाद दिएको, नेपाल सरकारलाई धन्यवाद दिएको पनि मैले
Evolving situation in the Middle East indicates potential impacts on the safety and rescue of hundreds of thousands of migrant Nepali workers.
In another development this week, Nepal police have stepped up enforcement, arresting over 200 individuals in a 4-day nationwide crackdown. Authorities say the campaign targets illegal activities and will continue with stricter action. Police spokesperson Deputy Inspector General Abhinaran Kafle said the operation launched on April 1 led to arrests across multiple provinces, with the highest number in Kathmandu Valley. According to police headquarters, dozens were detained each day through April 4 as part of intensified enforcement efforts. Authorities say legal action has been initiated against those arrested and the campaign will continue. In another key development, passenger safety has come into sharper focus under the government's 100 Action Plan. Measures include CCTV installation, women-only blue bus services and enhanced safety provisions. Let's take a look. The government has prioritized transport sector reforms under its 100-day action plan, focusing on safety, digital monitoring, and gender-inclusive mobility. The roadmap includes mandatory installation of CCTV and dashboard cameras in public vehicles, introduction of women-only blue bus services, and integration of SOS features in ride-sharing apps to enhance passenger security. Authorities say these measures aim to modernize transport while ensuring accountability and real-time emergency response. Ramhari Pokhrel, spokesperson at the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure and Transport, said the priority is the safety and security of riders and the ministry is committed to implement the decision within the deadline.
Safety and security is the main issue. According to the 100 days action plan, the deadline for blue bus operation is given to us 90 days. We will implement it before the 90 days we are planning, and regarding the CCTV and SOS button etc., that the deadline is given to us in 30 days. We are planning to complete this action before 30 days.
The government has set April 25th deadline for the reformative measures. However, the reforms come amid rising fuel prices linked to ongoing tensions in the Middle East, increasing pressure on transport operators. The transport entrepreneurs have begun demanding fare adjustments, citing higher operational costs. Commuters, meanwhile, are elated, stating that safety comes first, not only for ladies but all. Though abiding by the government decision directly pertains to the operators, public transportation drivers are also equally responsible.
भाडा त खोइ अब बढ्नु पर्ने हो, बढाएन के भन्नु त खोइ हो, यस्तै अब चलिरहन्छ। भाडा बढाइदिए त हुन्थ्यो, अब अहिले साउलाई पनि दिनु सकेको छैन, तेल हाल्नै धौधौ भइरहेछ अहिले यो स्थितिमा। सीसी क्यामेरा त कम्पनीले हाल्ने हो, हाल्ने नहाल्ने समितिको कुरा हो। अब मान्छे भनेको त अब सिट फुल मात्र भन्ने त असम्भव हुन्छ, अब स्ट्याम्पतिर त जसरी नै मान्छे उभिहाल्छ, त्यो त असम्भव कुरा हो।
The government's plan signals a push towards safer and more inclusive public transport, though challenges remain in execution and cost management. Building on that push for safety, ride-sharing services will soon include a mandatory live SOS feature. By April 25, all apps must enable a one-tap system that sends real-time location and trip details directly to Nepal Police.
If you are one of the millions navigating the streets via ride-sharing services, your safety just got a massive digital upgrade. Under the government of Nepal's 100-point agenda for governance reform, a landmark safety rule is now in effect. Initiated by the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure and Transport, this isn't just another policy, it's a direct response to ensure commuters' safety. The ministry has set a strict deadline by April 25, 2026. Every ride-sharing platform must have a fully functional SOS button. This isn't just a call button, it's a digital bridge to Nepal Police Control Room. In a high-stress situation, you might not be able to speak, or you might not know exactly where you are. That's when you hit the SOS button. With the new SOS feature rule, the moment you tap that red shield, a digital package is instantly sent to the police. Number 1, your live GPS location pinpointed in real time on the map. Number 2, vehicle details, the license plate and car or bike model. Number 3, the identity, both your name and the driver's name. Unlike a standard 100 call, this is a silent alert. It allows the authorities to intercept the vehicle with precision, whether you are a passenger facing harassment or a driver facing a potential robbery. Nepal is now aligning the existing ride-sharing services with global giants like Uber and Lyft. While international standards use AI to detect if the vehicle goes off-road, Nepal's reform focuses on the direct police API link. Whether you use Pathao, InDrive or Yango, the sync is happening right now. Pathao is upgrading its 24/7 response team. InDrive and Yango are reinforcing the data transmission. Check your App Store or Play Store today and update the ride-sharing apps with the latest safety patches. We hope you never have to use that button, but in a moment of crisis, it's the most powerful tool you own.
Now turning to reforms in foreign employment, migrant workers can now access medical checkups at government facilities at lower costs. The move is expected to ease financial burdens and improve access.
Nepali workers going abroad for employment are now free from the compulsion to visit expensive private medical colleges for health checkup. The government has started the facility of health checkup in public hospitals and reduced the fee for orientation training to 700 rupees. Earlier, the workers had to pay high fees as they had to go only to designated private medical practitioners. The workers have welcomed the government's decision as a huge sigh of relief.
आर्थिक मन्दी छ नेपालमा रोजगारको व्यवस्था छैन रोजगारको सुविधा छैन यो विगत जुन सिन्डिकेट प्रणाली लागू गरेको थियो त्यो अहिलेको सरकारले पहिलो चरणमा खारेज गरेकोमा म यो सरकारलाई धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु.
The Ministry of Labour, Employment and Social Security has meanwhile made the provision to provide orientation online as well. The ministry believes this will be cost effective as well as transparent.
Pre-departure orientation training भनेर हामी दिन्छौं त्यसको चाहिँ शुल्क 700 रुपैयाँ काम गरेको छ. वैदेशिक रोजगारमा जाने हाम्रो श्रमिकहरूलाई स्वास्थ्य परीक्षण गर्न सहज होस् हैन त्यसपछि उहाँहरुको एफोर्डेबल होस् सहज होस् सजिलै एक्सेस होस् र यसरी चाहिँ स्वास्थ्य चेक जाँच गर्ने संस्थाहरुको पनि कम्पिटिसन बढोस् भनेर हामीले चाहिँ त्यो निर्णय गरेका हौं.
The government's move has ended the monopoly of private medical practitioners and laboratories, as well as erased the mediators from the scene. The ministry has also warned of stern action against anyone not abiding by the ministry directive.
विदेशी रोजगारमा पठाइदिन्छु भनेर विदेशमा पठाउने प्रतिवादीलाई 3 देखि 7 वर्षसम्म कैद र बिगोको 50% सम्म हर्जना समेत भराइदिने कानुनी व्यवस्था छ. सोही अनुसार प्रदायक हुन्छ.
The government's decision is believed to reduce the financial burden of thousands of migrant workers. Although many have welcomed the move, some are skeptical about its effective long-term implementation.
Turning to infrastructure, the government plans to establish a state-led construction company to take over stalled projects. While aimed at addressing delays, concerns remain over efficiency and past performance.
The government is preparing to establish a state-run construction company that will directly undertake stalled infrastructure projects according to its 100-day priority plan. The move aims to address delays and negligence in infrastructure projects caused by contractors' mismanagement, inefficiency, and legal complications. The government plans to make legal reforms within 30 days to facilitate the process. Under the proposed policy, the state construction company will not compete with private contractors in bidding processes. However, it will take over projects if contractors show negligence, attempt to create a syndicate, or fail to perform.
सरकारले पूर्वाधार कम्पनी खडा गरिनु आवश्यक छैन. नियम कानुन र काम गर्ने वातावरण चाहिँ उपलब्ध गराइदिएर नेपालमै भएका निर्माण व्यवसायलाई रोजगारी सिर्जना गर्ने चाहिँ सरकारले भूमिका निर्माण गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने मेरो मान्यता छ र जुन निर्माण कम्पनी उहाँले निर्माण गर्नुभएको छ निर्माण व्यवसायीहरूको रोजीरोटी नखोसियोस् किनभने निर्माण व्यवसायले धेरै ठुलो लगानी गर्नुभएको छ त्यो लगानी फेरि सरकारले आफै फेरि किन गरिरहनु पर्यो निर्माण व्यवसायीहरुकै क्षमता वृद्धि गरेर निर्माण व्यवसायलाई सक्षम बनाएर आयोजना समयमा सम्पन्न गर्ने दिवा आयोजना बनाउने धारणा लिनुपर्छ.
According to the policy under point 49 section D, if a public infrastructure tender fails twice or if a contract has to be terminated due to contractor's negligence, the government will assign the project directly to the state construction company. The company will also take over long-stalled and incomplete projects. A 30-day review will be conducted to decide whether such projects will continue or be discontinued. National priority projects will see fast-track procedures for land acquisition, compensation, tree cutting, and environmental impact assessments.
त्यो दुई हिसाबले राम्रो छ. एक त जुन कुनै निजी निर्माण व्यवसायी मित्रहरूले छोडेको काम चाहिँ त्यो कम्पनीले गर्ने भयो एउटा फाइदा. अनि दोस्रो कुरो के हुन्छ भने कहिलेकाहीँ चाहिँ निजी क्षेत्रका निर्माण व्यवसायहरू चाहिँ आपसमा मिलोमतो गर्न सक्नु होला हामीलाई थाहा नहुने गरी
अनि त्यस्तोमा चाहिँ सरकारी निर्माण व्यवसायी अथवा सरकारी निर्माण कम्पनी पनि त्यो प्रतिस्पर्धामा भाग लिन पाउने हो। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि त्यो सरकारी निर्माण कम्पनीसित प्रतिस्पर्धामा उहाँहरू आउनुपर्छ, उहाँहरू भित्र मिलोमतो गर्न पाउनुहुन्न। त्यसको हिसाबले चाहिँ त्यसले त फाइदा छ।
The government plans to introduce an integrated and automated approval system. The initiative also aims to break what authorities describe as a contractor syndicate that delays projects through repeated deadline extensions. The state construction company will be provided with necessary resources, equipment, and skilled manpower to carry out its work. The government had previously established a similar construction company, but it was later dissolved after failing to compete with private contractors and becoming ineffective due to alleged politicization.
That's the perspective for this week. We will be back next week with more key developments. Thank you for watching NTV World.
Music, dance, food, art and devotion are the lifeblood of Newar culture, an ancient civilization rooted in the Kathmandu Valley of Nepal. With lively festivals nearly every fortnight, the Newars celebrate life through a rich tapestry of traditions known as Jatra.
This is a moment of profound global transition. Power is shifting, alliances are being tested, and long-standing assumptions about order and stability are being questioned. From the Indo-Pacific to the expanding BRICS bloc, the world is no longer debating whether change is coming, but how it will unfold and who will shape it. Welcome to Geopod. I am Shivani Thapa-Bosnet. Today we examine these very shifts not from the traditional centers of power, but from the regions where their consequences are most deeply felt. I'm joined in by Dr. Pramod Jaiswal to unpack what this new geopolitical moment really means. Welcome to Geopod, Dr. Jaiswal.
Thank you.
Let's dive in directly. Dr. Jaiswal, we are currently living at one of the most consequential shifts in global power in decades, right? It's a moment where all rules are being tested and new ones are still very, very unclear. So the Indo-Pacific is being advanced as a strategy to protect this stability and rules. At the same time, there is BRICS, which is expanding rapidly, presenting itself as an alternative voice for countries that feel excluded from that order. Now, let me begin with this. Is this moment a genuine correction in global power, or the start of a more fragmented and unstable world shaped by rival blocs?
I think I'd look at it as a time for transition. The multipolar world is in the process of formation. We have been living on a unipolar world where US was the dominant power for almost 50, 60 years or even 70 years. And unlike in the past, like when there was World War II, then there was US emergence. So US did not have to struggle with the other power, existing power, to emerge as a power. Unlike in the past, at the moment it's very complex, lots of uncertainties and also lots of complications because US still claims to be one of the dominant power, but different powers are emerging. China is trying to emerge as a global power, while India is trying to emerge as a regional power. Russia has awakened. Europe, which is also trying to reclaim the space. So we are in the process of transition. That's why China is coming to BRICS. China, Russia, India are coming to BRICS to create alternative poles. But we should also not sideline that after Russia-Ukraine war, again Europe is reviving, Russia is emerging. So we are in the process of transition. I don't think that we have already achieved a multipolar world. One can also question that, will we really achieve a multipolar world? That can also be questioned. But let me put you in the perspective that there are few incidents that have really brought decline of US. I think there are three volcanoes in the US history. The first was 9/11. Before 9/11, Americans used to live in a paradise where they used to think that we are unchallenged, no one can touch us, Russia or China or even Russia, China combined cannot affect us. On the one side we have Pacific, other we have Atlantic, so there are only fishes, we don't have complicated neighbors who can really challenge them. So they were in a paradise. But one fine morning, which was not so fine for the American, person, bearded, attacked US, unlike never in the history we have seen such incident. And that was the greatest shock for Americans. First, why did a person whom we don't even know attack us? Where is this Afghanistan on the globe? What harm we have done to them? These were really serious questions, because they were only looking at North Korea, Iran, Russia, China as a competitor who can really challenge them. But even they did not have the capacity to even harm American bases or American army. But it happened, and that was the biggest shock. So it was like on the psyche of American, that was one end of American era. Second, for that war on terror that happened on 9/11, Americans fought for 20 years with the best military, which they claim, with the best technology, with all the resources available, and at the same time the whole world was with Americans. There was not a single force against US, like during Vietnam War there was Russia, Korean War there was a Russia factor, but on war of terror there was not a single country who could really stood against US at that time. And they were fighting against terrorist groups who were not even recognized on their own country. So whole world was supporting in terms of arms, in terms of intelligence, resources, but after 20 years US had to exit. That was the second attack on the US psyche, that we have the best military with the best intelligence, best technology, best trend and everything, best alliances. Third was, and in the whole process when they were fighting in Afghanistan, China just had 2 warships, and very short time China expanded in such a way that China got highest number of warships of all the warships of the world combined. When China had 2, US had 150 plus warships. So in 7-8 years there was a massive rise of China militarily. So militarily also there was a setback on US. The last was dollar, which is still US claims to be the richest country in the world with the dollar as a dominant, and that is where China and other countries are hitting on. BRICS currency or BRICS framework, all these are challenged on the last, you can say, hope that US still have to claim as the largest power, as a major power. And that is where we are stuck. Tariffs, all that you see at the moment is in that process. So I think we are in the process of transition from a unipolar to the multipolar world. Again, there are differences among the countries. Well, India wants to have a multipolar world, but also multipolar Asia, because India wants to claim one of the poles of Asia. China wants multipolar world, unipolar Asia, because China wants to be the sole power in whole Asia. Europe, again, has their own way of looking at the poles of global order. So I think all these complexities are in the process, and I think we are in the process of transition.
So you mean to say it's been a gradual build-up for over the past 2 decades now?
Yes, and it might take another 2 decades.
Right. It's still already, still in the process of taking shape.
That's true.
And nations are creating or setting their positions at the moment, right? So what happens, but still at this particular point of time, we really see the shift has been quicker compared to how it was, a decade ago, or maybe how it would be a decade after. So Dr. Jaiswal, just shed some light on my curiosity, like when power shifts this quickly, when things shape this quickly, right, to a layman like us, who tends to miscalculate first, the rising powers, or is it the established ones who are struggling to adapt?
I think the existing power, the one who have been a dominant power, tend to make mistakes because they fail to understand the emergence of new power. The confidence that exists in the emerging power is the one that forced them to make mistakes. On the contrary, the emerging power sometimes lacks confidence. I'll give you one example in the case of China. On many issues, China is emerging, they are dominant, but sometimes they are not so confident. That's why I've seen in the past that when they have to negotiate with US, when they have to talk with US, they try to drag Russia on the global table because they're not so confident. So they want other power to sit with them so that when they communicate, Russia can take care of some aspect of that. So that's lack of confidence makes them not to make mistakes.
Now, is today's disorder, Dr. Jaiswal, the result of Western decline or Western rigidity?
It's both, but I think more of a Western decline. There's a decline of West, where the West has not really acknowledged, and that is what comes to rigidity. Look at the technological advancement. Apart from US, Europe has not spent more on research and development in recent times. There's a decline in population, decline in market, and even the geopolitics has shifted to other parts that has forced them to be in a stale mode. You have seen Europe is no longer Europe is no longer attracted as a market, as an investment or a research centers. US has still maintained that. So I think it's more of a decline of of the West. But second would be rigidity, that when all these things are happening, Europe has not been able to come forward and deal with those. I mean, look at the immigration control systems, or even US. At the time where US economy is not doing good, where they have to invest more resources on research and development, they are trying to bring certain issues that really will put best mind out of US. So I think same we have seen in Europe. The decline of Europe was that they could not attract the great minds of the world. At one point of time, Europe was the center of all those. So I think it is more of a rigidity in recent times. But overall, there is a decline of the West. That is the major reason behind it.
Mm-hmm. Historically, if you just take a quick pan, when powers transitions mature, Dr. Jaiswal, do they stabilize or do they actually grow more dangerous?
I think there are chances of both. If there is gradual increase where the countries understands their capabilities and limitations, it's gradual, and that is very peaceful, and that is not so dangerous. But if there is quick and there are not enough inputs, not proper understanding, proper calculation, that can lead to dangerous world. Even in China, I mean, if China today believes that they have been too powerful, that can really challenge US, they can lead to disaster, because the gap between US and China is still vast. They have minimized the gap, but they still have a lot to work to be in par of US. So that is very important. China has emerged as a power in technology and military, but they should understand that there is a gap. If you fail to calculate that, then you can go to disaster. But if you realize that, built on that you have achieved, and if you go further, then in a peaceful way you can have a transition and you can lead the world. So that is, I think it's both.
Interesting. But still, despite all that, we feel a sense of urgency right now, impatience even, right? So what is driving that, that urgency or impatience among the emerging powers?
I think there are multiple factors. One is the that you have rightly pointed out, the fast-changing global order. When things are changing very fast, it's very difficult for a country to analyze well and come to the conclusion. Second is, basically in Asia, there is huge pressure by the youth that is putting huge pressure on the government to deliver quick. So that is also pressurizing government to take some harsher step, quicker results, and that can also lead to miscalculations. So I think there are several factors. Fast-changing world, the pressure from the youth, and other factors, resource crunch at the moment. When there is huge pressure, you need resources, you need energy, and it's scarce day by day. New demands for AI, critical energy are coming up. So all those are putting pressure on every country to work on this field.
Is multipolarity inherent safer or simply more volatile?
I think multipolar is a safer situation because there is no one who can really challenge the pole. Like US was very powerful, and there was some kind of instability in certain part of the world. Those who aligned with US were in a very comfortable position, but those who differ were not in good position. So that was a kind of world which was clearly divided. But if they are multipolar world, I think it will be easier for them to work together. Again, it can be sometimes slow, it might look very chaotic, but it will not be, because at least the major disaster will not be there, because one pole will balance the other, and one pole will not be so powerful that they can really challenge the world. US enjoys that situation. So I think a world where US is a power, where China is one, where Russia and Europe are, I think it will be a beautiful world where you can have different options for different countries to engage and move forward.
From this global picture, let's narrow down to the consequential areas where the struggle is really showing its consequences. Let's talk about the Indo-Pacific, Dr. Jaiswal, which is often described as inclusive, rules-based, and an approach to stabilizing, the shifts that are happening. But perceptions do not always match with intentions, and most often we have to read between the lines or read the in between the sentences. Now, is the Indo-Pacific fundamentally a security strategy, or do you think it is a political message?
I'm a realist, so for me it's a strategic, because the emergence of Indo-Pacific has roots that goes to China. As I said, when US was involved in Afghanistan, where they had to exit later, and China was the factor, they realized that China has emerged as a power that can really challenge US in future. And that is the major factor. Today, Chinese are very proud to claim that they have the world's best modern navy, and that is where the threat comes from. And the complicated part of China, South China Sea, is very complicated. Again, Indo-Pacific is huge resources. So all those has brought the geopolitics from west to the Indo-Pacific. That's why the center of geopolitics now is Indo-Pacific region, or you can say Asia.
Strategy, or do you see as a political message?
So I think it's more of a strategy, because the emergence of Indo-Pacific was to challenge China. But as you said, in terms of perception, and the way we see is more like a very benign, free and fair Indo-Pacific, rule of law and all. Obviously, every strategy needs moral aspirations. So that's why there is a moral aspiration, but I think it's more of a strategy, though openly we don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm. And does it genuinely include the global south, or just divide it from the outside?
Actually, it's more of a strategy, so it includes the interest of the one who have proponented it. But obviously, at the moment where global south is very important, if any strategy that do not take along the global south, it might not last long. So the origin is not global south, but global south can be a beneficiary of that initiative, because global south has resources, they have population, they have market, and if they come together, they are a very strong bloc. So any initiative in this world cannot be successful without taking global south along.
Publicly, many countries endorse it, but privately the pictures look different. I think that's been a language of diplomacy. How do Asian states? How do you think the Asian states, interpret this strategy behind closed doors versus in public forums?
In public, everyone says that it's open, free and fair, and we should be part of that. Every country should engage on Indo-Pacific affairs or Indo-Pacific strategy of the US. But in Asia, there are certain differences. Those countries like Vietnam, Philippines, or you can say Malaysia, who has some problem with China, basically on the maritime border issues, they really want to benefit from those initiatives aligning with the US. They also think it is an opportunity to challenge China, negotiate with China, showing that as a tool. So there are differences. Certain countries, they don't want to be in the side of either China or Indo-Pacific, and they try to see a neutral. They want to benefit from both. So they say, don't let us choose sides. We don't want to choose sides. So there are different variations. Some fully align on others, like Vietnam might negotiate with China. So they might not be fully aligned with US, but they might be pretending to align with US and bargain with China. But some can be fully aligned, like Japan, India, Australia, they'll fully align with US. So there is one who will fully align on the one side, other will be the other, some will be in the midst, where they can just use it as a tool of diplomacy.
Mm-hmm. Well, if this framework is about stability, Dr. Jaiswal, why does it increasingly resemble, preparation of confrontation?
I think answer is in the first question, that when there are new initiatives, when two powers come together, when there is competition, that lead to some kind of chaos, confrontation, and that is normal. When there are two plates collide, there are some disturbance. So I think it's very normal.
Well, history shows us that security frameworks often create the insecurities they claim to prevent. At the same time, another grouping is gaining momentum, louder, broader, and more assertive. You know what I'm talking about. Why is BRICS expanding now, Dr. Jaiswal, and why do you think, what urgency is it responding to?
Actually, every initiative or the instrument, or you can say institutions that exist in this world are basically created by the dominant group, or you can say the powers. So United Nations and all the institutions that are existing at the moment was created by Western blocs, and they were the beneficiary. So certain countries, when they emerge, they realize that those institutions, they also need to have those institutions, because the existing institutions are not serving their interest, or they are not serving the interest of the powerless. I will give you an example. United Nations, everyone is equal in UN, right? And who need UN? The poor countries, the weak countries, the small countries, right? But who has the veto? The most powerful countries. Do they really need veto? They have nuclear bombs. But Nepal should have veto, because if anything goes against, we should have the capacity to use it. But the most powerful, the nuclear countries, have veto. So the world is not fair. International system is not equal the way we see. So that's why I think these global south or new emerging powers realize that they should also have a kind of system where they can dominate the world. Second is that they realize that the institutions that they benefit are the powerful, so they should create that. So there are economic, political, security needs behind that. They want to create a bloc where they can economically benefit, where they can politically benefit.
I mean, do you believe this expansion increases BRICS' influence or dilute its coherence?
I think it has expanded in recent times, and it has increased its importance, because BRICS has come with new initiatives that are giving more space to certain countries, which Western-led world order has failed to do that. BRICS is more acceptable in global south compared to the existing initiative, and if they had delivered, these BRICS would not have even emerged. So now China and other countries want to dominate the world through their currency, have their own economic system, and go on a global table and bargain for themselves. So there are new opportunities, and I think they will bring them together in days to come.
Dr. Jaiswal, because size can certainly project strength, as you've been saying, but it can also expose contradiction, right? Is BRICS building of a genuine alternative system, or is it primarily signaling just, the resistance to the existing ones?
It's too early to predict, because the way it has progressed, one can hope for that it can emerge as an alternative. But again, the Western world order might also reform themselves, and they might create a space which is more inclusive for global south. So it's too challenging to state, but the way they have moved forward, I think they are emerging and moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Much of this competition is being fought rhetorically over the global south, but not always shaped by it. Are Global South countries actively shaping this order or just being pulled into it?
No, they do. They are shaping global order. Look at Indonesia, look at Brazil, Latin America, and all those Africa. They're emerging as a power because these countries, the resources are still not utilized. They have huge population, they have market, and new minds are coming in these countries. And there is also need for, it's easy for them to come together compared to the historical past. I mean, Africa would be more comfortable engaging with Asian powers than with Europe and the West because of their past. China would be more comfortable engaged with Asian powers. India would not like to leave the space that exists in Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. So I think there is an opportunity for Global South to come together. Second, the world has become more open in recent times, where people's pressure, the pressure from the individuals are very high, which will force them to take decisions in their favor. So I think in the past, the power, they should engage with the states and they were able to rule. But now the role of people is very important. So I think it's people-driven initiatives will be more powerful in days to come.
Mm-hmm. So do regional states see opportunity in this competition, or do they see pressure?
There is pressure on small states, especially if they are not able to manage the power. It's a pressure. But sometimes if I'm able to manage the power, it's an opportunity. For example, if Nepal has the option of BRICS or other initiative, you can bargain that, oh, BRICS is offering this. Why? If you can offer me better, I'm with you. So it's also an opportunity sometimes to bargain. I'll give one example. In Nepal, India was a traditional partner. Western were there. The rise of China has allowed them to become more active. Now India is very assertive. Otherwise they, oh, it's my own friend, don't need to worry. And because of China, it's everywhere. People are now worried about Africa because now Chinese are in Africa. So now Europeans say, oh, it's a big market, we are losing, we should compete with Chinese. So when China has emerged as a power, it has led to competition. And the countries have option or opportunity to bargain. So I think it's a good...
For small states, geopolitics certainly is less about, grand strategy and more about managing vulnerability. So for smaller states like Nepal, navigating the Indo-Pacific discourse on one hand and BRICS-led alternatives on the other hand, where does this, where does choice end and constraint begin?
Theoretically, we'll say that, oh, we should have a balanced relation with everyone, and many of us make mistakes here. Some people say Nepal should have equidistant policy, and I'm against that. Nepal cannot have an equidistant policy with China and India. We have 3 doors on one side. You have a neighbor with whom you have 3 doors, and you have a neighbor with 1 door. You will have better relation with neighbor with 3 doors because there are more opportunities. If you have to run under crisis, you'll run through 3 doors, not the other door. Again, on the northern side, we have high Himalayas, world's highest mountains. And we have not able to overcome that. We don't have railway and all those that can really pass through Tibet plateaus and lead us to Beijing. So I think that is one. Second is that we also claim that, oh, we should have balanced relations with all the neighbors, like China is opportunity. Yes, we have. But the global system is very complicated, and the world's international system is very harsh. There are no one give you free lunches. So in that situation, I have come with an Indo-Pacific outlook for Nepal. One can say that, oh, we should not ignore China. That's right. But look at our political relations. We had ties with British in 1816, and the second country with which we established diplomatic ties was US. 1947, before the birth of PRC and before the birth of independent India. Then we got tied with other countries, and France is 5th. So our political system is a Western-led democracy. We accept it or not, everything that we get into this country, human rights, democracy, education system, all come from West. And that we can't change immediately. Second is that we have open border with India. And when we have open border, means you have huge influence. So I see Nepal as a maritime country, virtual maritime, because it might be difficult to enter to this studio because of the gate pass system and all. But without that hassle, I can go to Kanyakumari, I can go to any Indian Ocean, I can drive my car from here and go to any of the coastal cities of India. That means we are virtually open through Indian Ocean. So Nepal is a maritime country, and when these initiatives like Indo-Pacific are there, I think there's immense opportunity for Nepal. Third, in security, we are highly reliant on different powers, not China. Our security comes from India, support and training and all influence, US and Britain and many others. So politically, strategically, we are highly inclined to the Western world. Yes, China is an opportunity economically, but how big opportunity we can get is very challenging. I mean, we do not border with Shanghai, we don't border with Guangzhou, we don't border with Tianjin, we don't border with other coastal cities like, Qingdao and all. Suzhou and all are very far. Macau, Hong Kong are very far from us. We border with the poorest part of China, which is Tibet. Again, the poorest part of Tibet, not Lhasa. So there's a big insulator between Nepal and China. So economically also, I don't think we have a huge opportunity that comes from China. Otherwise, why should we have 80% trade with India? So what happens? Theoretically, it's good. Oh, balanced relations. Let's balance India and China, but we can't. We have to look south. We have to look India. We have to look at Southeast Asia. We have to look at Indo-Pacific. Any disturbance in the Indo-Pacific region will impact our trade. So that's why we came with Nepal's outlook on Indo-Pacific. We should have our own Indo-Pacific strategy, like US have theirs. We should create one. And in that strategy, I think we should accept that we have a strong diplomatic ties with the Western world. And we can't ignore that. We have strong economic ties, we have security ties, our democracy, everything comes from that. So aligning with that power, which is existing, we can benefit a lot. If we engage with the US or this bloc, we can benefit a lot. Other option, one can say, no, yeah, China is an opportunity, we can do that, yes. But for that, we have not created enough conditions. We do not have connectivity. Our languages are different, our political system are different, our economy is not integrated, and that might change after 50, 60, 70 years, but today is not the situation. So I think Nepal, theoretically, yes, let's have good relations with everyone, but unfortunately or fortunately, we have to align with the Western world. We have been a great partner with the Western world, so we have to engage with that. Our development support comes from Europe, from US or Japan, which is in the Western bloc. So I think one has to realize that, and whenever we have failed to realize that, Nepal has faced some challenges, instability.
So have you failed it recently?
I think we have failed recently. I mean, whenever we have not able to understand the geopolitics, when we are not able to understand our limitations and capacities, we have failed. Mm-hmm. Because theoretically we can engage with China, everyone is equal and all, but in practice it's not.
Could you shed light on the odds for Nepal to independently move in its geopolitical, in its space? Does it have a space to independently align based on the interests that serves it best?
Actually, I say Nepal is a small state, and many friends of us, they get offended. They say, oh, Nepal is a middle power. But for me, when we say state, it's a power. That is the indicator to calculate that. I only say they're a large and small state. There are three factors that we judge. One is the land. In terms of size, we are not very small. We are mid-range countries. In terms of military, we are weak. In terms of economy, we are not powerful. Politically or state capabilities. Some countries are very small, but they can produce the best thing, like Switzerland, Japan, and all. But we are not having that kind of efficiency or capable citizens. So in all these criteria, we are a small state. How do a small state behave in international system? In international system, a small state just want to survive. That is the first objective. Nepal always want to be on the global map. And they push for their national interest through international organizations or alliance, like United Nations, SAARC, BIMSTEC, and other institutions that we use to go further. Sometimes small states have lots of choices. If they are caught between two adversarial powers, and Nepal is the classic case. We have China, India, big powers, but we are between two. So Nepal has the option to align with China or with India, or remain neutral. And Nepal has done that. Sometimes Nepal has aligned with China and benefited, sometimes with India and benefited, sometimes they just remain neutral and they have benefited. So these are the beneficiaries. It has challenges because you're small. You can't position your interest independently, because big powers, when they are discussing on a global table, when Trump is deciding on climate summit, they're not worried about our Mount Everest. When they're deciding any policy, they're not worried about Nepal. So it's very challenging for a small state to push for those kind of interest. But in spite of that, where Nepal has limited option, but since it is between two big powers, we have changed our sides and benefited. At times we have taken very strong stance, and that has benefited Nepal. I'll give you two examples. During 80s, 60s, when a state of Israel was formed, Nepal was the only country in South Asia that supported a state of Israel, where India and China did not support them. And we remained the only country for 30 years to support the state of Israel. And that's why Nepal and Israel have very special relations. At that time, all the different powers in the region were voting differently. Second is recent Ukraine. When India and China absent, Nepal stood with Ukraine. Our two big neighbors were on the other side, we were on the other side. And why we supported? Because Nepal is a small state, Ukraine is a small state. If you do not stand with Ukraine today, they will not stand with us tomorrow. And it also signaling that Nepal stands with a small state in global politics. So that was clear stance. Second was that Nepal believe in peaceful resolution. Nepal believe in UN Charter. Nepal foreign policy based on Panchil, means non-interference, non-aggression. It's all Buddhism philosophy. So that was the criteria that Nepal stood. Even recently, when the US has changed its stand on 25th February 2025, US voted on the other side. Nepal still voted for the Ukraine. So in spite of when US voted on the other side, or India, China, we have taken a firm stand. So many times Nepal have taken a very firm stand. Many times we have taken right decisions. Many times we have changed our alliances a benefit. And one classic example, and I'll end there, is Mahendra Highway. If you go to East-West Highway, when you're driving, you'll say Nepal, US cooperation, then Nepal, other countries. The same highway is made by different countries. So during Cold War, Nepal was able to benefit from Soviet, US, India, China, and all the countries. So I think small states have opportunities if you are able to manage well. If you are not able, then you can be in a state of you can be in a state where Nepal is today.
Let's quickly rewind to the latest movement that Nepal saw, very unprecedented for many, right? What is your observation? What has been your observation, Dr. Jaiswal? Because many believe it's become a playground of geopolitics. Was it a playground of geopolitics, or was it just a house in disorder?
Are you talking about Gen Z?
Yes.
For me, it's like it's internal issues, because I'm not a Gen Z. And before the incident, or you can say before the movement, I was not aware who are the leaders. I was not even aware who has organized it. But on Facebook, I saw that. And before that, social media was banned. And I was the one who was most affected, because I communicate with my office through social media. I run a think tank and I communicate with people around the world through social media. I do not have even your number, but we communicate through social media. So our way of communication was social media. I don't have many people's number around the world. So when that ban was there, it was not a ban on social media. It was a ban on my organization, my livelihood, my research, my way of thinking. I can't think when there is no phone. I mean, when I do not have cell phone in my hand, I think half. That is how I am there. Imagine the situation of Gen Z. They are born with cell phones in their hand. If you ask them 2 into 2, they will not be able to say. They will say, let me check. What is the capital of Nepal? They will check. How to go to New Road? They will check on Google Map. So that is the reliance. So that was not being able to understand by the old generation. I still call many people, sir, I've sent you the WhatsApp message to join an event. They say, oh, can you please call me? So they are from that generation. They want you to call for an invitation, but I feel disturbed when someone calls me. I want them through email or WhatsApp, and I respond. So there is a differentiation. So when that ban was there, that was the first frustration came from there. But why there was a ban? Because of the videos that emerged, which was on corruption, lack of governance, and that frustration was there. Not today; it has accumulated since democracy, in different form. So I think it's a genuine movement. People were really frustrated. Even today, you go to different places; they are very frustrated. Look at the abuses they bring for the leaders, the hatred for political parties. These are very genuine, and that has brought people on the street. As I told you, I don't know any leader, but I said, yes, let's go. I was planning to go there, but everything happened before that. So there is strong anger among the people, very, very strong. Maybe we who do not interact with common people, or who are in Kathmandu might have a small anger. People who are in villages who have to struggle for every basic need, they have a major anger. Maybe our media have not able to reach there. And our institutions, our media, our political parties, our civil society are not able to address those demands.
So you say it's a vent more of internal disorder rather than a geopolitical play.
Of course.
Right. Okay. So let's get back to the global picture, Dr. Jaiswal, because every transition produces winners, right, and also losers, and sometimes unintended victims as well. This is around which we are having this discussion. So, what again? Back to my question: what is the biggest miscalculation at this point of time that the major powers are making right now?
I think at the moment still like a major power making one major miscalculation, and that is that in every initiative they are not able to give importance to economy. We are in a world where economy is should be driving force, but still security drives them. With the emergence of Xi Jinping in China or different powers, they are giving highest importance to securitization. They fail to understand that without economic delivery you can't have security. That is the same thing that US should have learned from 9/11. Afghanistan was not harmed by US, but the poverty in Afghanistan was the major reason that attacked US. Not the single policy of US was that they could have hurt Afghanistan, but poverty itself is the biggest challenge. And I think every initiative should give highest importance to economic aspect. More than Indo-Pacific strategy, Indo-Pacific economic framework is powerful. More than any initiative, economic component are there, because countries around the world have extreme pressure from youth, from unemployed people for opportunities, and the youth around the world are putting immense pressure. In the past, like father, he was not aware what is happening in US every day, but today if US launch a new iPhone, at the same time I can watch it live, and my son can watch a new car being launched in US and some best hotels of Italy. So people in Nepal, they're watching the same thing, all those developments in Nepal, in Africa, China, India, US. The youth around the world at the same time are having new aspirations, new desire, new dreams. Not that American have better dream and Nepalese. No, Nepalese youth and American youths, the dream of both the youth are rising at the same time. So there is intense pressure on the government of Nepal, government of US, government of China, every government to deliver. Now, US might have the capacity, China might have capacity, Russia might have, Nepal might not have the capacity to deliver in that sense, and that will bring frustration, that will bring anger, there will be chaos, insecurity. I think that is most important. I think poverty, giving food, security, climate change, all these are very, very important. So that's why in this modern era, non-traditional security threats are more important than traditional security threats. But still, the world is spending more on traditional security threats, less on non-traditional.
Mm-hmm. What if this competition intensifies and wouldn't hold, right? Who pays the first price?
I think the sad part is the weak, the vulnerable, are the one who pay the price. I mean, we know how Second World War happened, but who paid the price? It's the small states, the small powers. Obviously, big destroyed for their own fault. But in this complex situation, in a war, some people who are not even part of that also has to pay the price. So I think if you make a mistake, if you pay price, I think a small price, even if it is huge. For me, someone who has not been part of that war, part of that chaos, and if they have to pay even a small price, that is a big price for me. So I think in every chaos, it's a small state, it's vulnerable communities are the one who has to pay the huge price.
And what does responsible leadership look like at this point of time, Dr. Jaiswal?
I think the responsible leaders should think of the people. In the past, it was the ruler, it was the party, it was the state that was most important. Now we should realize that if there are no people, what will we do with the state? So that is where we have to transform ourselves. A state should not derive the policies. It's the people who should drive the policy of the state.
And who right now needs to change course? How urgently?
I think every one of us, because as I said, in this very complex world, each one of us have stakes and each one of us can have an impact. I mean, if I as a researcher change, if you as a media bring issues, if all of us work together, that can bring a change. Not only I mean, in the past it was top to bottom. Now it's different in a different form. So each one of us, if you work in that direction, if you correct the mistakes, if you really challenge those who are going the wrong direction, I think that they will be able to make.
History has a way of clarifying what leaders could not, right, or would not see at a time. When historians look back at this particular decade, what decision or failure to act do you think they will judge most harshly?
I think the most would be like, it's very devastating the way US had withdrawn from climate change. I mean, that is something that the world has to come together. I mean, climate change is real, and this is something that impacts everyone. And when we are struggling around with different issues, obviously we can do that, but something that should come together is climate change, which I think we have not been able to take right steps. It's a very small paces that we are taking. I think in the past we'll regret that when we're talking about small issues, we miss the bigger questions and the bigger issues, that is climate change. And especially we in Nepal should raise it strongly, because what is happening at the moment is that people are talking about drowning islands. But what makes that island drown? What makes the sea level rise? It's the melting of our glaciers, melting of our snow-capped mountains. So they're looking at the effect, they're not looking at the source. So world has to look up to the mountain to stop that climate change that will have an impact there. And if we have a clean environment, we'll have a healthy population, good food. If you have good food, we'll have better mind to think. If you have better mind to think, we'll have better world to see. So I think first we have to start from the reverse order, that when we got this planet Earth, we got it as a beautiful planet. We are the one who have destroyed it. We should go in reverse.
Thank you, Dr. Jaiswal. Thank you for sharing your valuable time, coming over and helping us unpack these very, very life concerns.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you in our show. Today we examine these very shifts, not from the traditional centers of power, but from the regions where their consequences are mostly deeply felt. I'm joined by Dr. Pramod Jaiswal to unpack what this new geopolitical moment really means. What this conversation underscores is that global power is not just shifting, it's being contested, redefined, and tested. The choices made now by major powers and smaller stakes alike will shape not only the international order, but its stability. For regions like South Asia, this moment is less about alignment and more about judgment. How to navigate pressure without losing agency. That's where we leave it today. Goodbye.
Buddha Nilkantha is one of Nepal's most sacred and historic pilgrimage sites. Located at the southern base of Shivapuri Hill, just north of the Kathmandu Valley, this temple complex has long served as a peaceful place where devotees come to seek faith and spiritual connection. At its center lies the extraordinary statue of Lord Vishnu, known here as Jal Narayan. This massive stone figure, half submerged in a sacred pond, shows Vishnu reclining on the coils of Sheshnag, the king of serpents. Resting on the cosmic ocean, this form represents divine balance and protection, making Buddha Nilkantha one of the most revered Vishnu shrines in Nepal.
यहाँ विशेष गरी हाम्रो वैशाख महिनाभरि मेला लाग्ने गर्दछ। त्यसमा पनि वैशाख 1 गतेलाई विशेष रूपले मानिन्छ र वर्षमा 5 चोटि वैशाख 1 गते भगवानलाई विशेष गरगहनाहरूले सजाइन्छ। पूजापाठ विशेष पूजाहरू हुन्छ, महास्नानहरू आदि हुन्छन्। त्यस्तै गरी वैशाख 1 गते, वैशाख पूर्णिमा अनि कार्तिक शुक्ल द्वादशी र कार्तिक पूर्णिमामा विशेष मेला लाग्दछ र यस ठाउँको पर्व अनुसारको विभिन्न समयमा एकादशीमा, शनिबार, बुधबार, बिहीबार त्यस्ता विशेष पर्वहरूमा ठुलो घुइँचो भिड लाग्ने परम्पराहरू चल्दै आएका छन्।
Two major festivals, Hari Sayani Ekadashi in Asar and Hari Bodhini Ekadashi in Kartik, are celebrated with great devotion. Ekadashi, observed on the 11th day of each lunar fortnight, is a sacred fasting day dedicated to Lord Vishnu. It is believed to purify the mind and body and deepen spiritual discipline. During these festivals, the temple becomes lively with worship, fasting rituals, chanting, and the lighting of oil lamps. Even on regular days, hundreds of people visit to pray, meditate, and experience the calm environment of the temple. The history of Buddha Nilkantha is believed to date back to the Lichavi period, showing the artistic and cultural depth of ancient Nepal. The 5-meter-long black stone idol lies gracefully on the serpent bed, holding the conch, chakra, mace, and lotus, symbols of protection, cosmic order, and divinity. According to legend, a farmer and his wife discovered the statue while plowing their field. Their plow struck stone, and the idol is said to have bled. Shocked, the villagers gathered and uncovered the figure with their hands. Afraid they had committed a sin, the farmers apologized to the god for disturbing the idol. Stories say that Lord Vishnu then appeared before the people as Narayan in forms similar to those worshipped in Badrinath and Kedarnath. This is believed to be the origin of the name Nilakantha.
किसानले हाम्रो खलोमा जहाँ खन्यौं त्यहीबाट रगत आइरहेको छ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ फैलिए अनि गाउँका किसानहरू जो खेतमा काम गरिरहेका थिए ती सबै जम्मा भएर हातको माध्यमले खन्दै जाँदाखेरि यो भगवानको दिव्यमान विग्रह प्राकट्य भयो। प्राकट्य भइसकेपछि तिनी किसानलाई बडा चिन्तित भए। मैले त ठुलो अपराध गरेछु, भगवान यहाँ हुनुहुँदो रहेछ मलाई थाहा थिएन र भगवानसँग एकदम अनुनय विनय गर्न थाले, रुन कराउन लागे। साक्षात हेर्दाखेरि भगवान चाहिँ सामान्य रूपमा सामान्य दृष्टिले हेर्दाखेरि नारायणको रूपमा देखिनुहुन्छ, तर भगवान चाहिँ बद्रीनाथ र केदारनाथजीको स्वरूपमा आउनु भएको अनि त्यसलाई चाहिँ पूर्णता दिनको लागि नाम चाहिँ उनको नाम नीलकण्ठ थियो। त्यही भएर भगवानले तिम्रो नामबाट मेरो नाम प्रसिद्धि गर भनेपछि नीलकण्ठ भनेर चाहिँ नाम रहने भयो।
Although open to the sky, the temple is an important example of traditional Nepali architecture, simple, symmetrical and symbolic. The area also serves as a gurukul, offering teachings in Sanskrit, Vedas and classical forms of worship. Surrounding the temple are peepal trees, valued for their religious, cultural, and environmental importance. They provide shade and a sense of calm to the space. At the northern entrance are the idols of three Dev and three Devi, Shiva, Saraswati and Ganesh. They symbolize power, knowledge and auspicious beginnings. At the center stands a statue of Hanuman, representing strength, devotion, and loyalty. Every morning from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m., priests perform the daily ritual, bathing the statue, offering fresh clothes, flowers, incense, and holy water. The sounds of conch shells, bells, and chanting create a devotional atmosphere.
I have deep faith in Buddha Nilkantha, which is why I come here often. Every visit brings me a sense of peace and comfort.
Buddha Nilkantha is also connected to nature. The green forest of Shivapuri rises just above the temple, adding to its peaceful surroundings.
यो क्षेत्र चाहिँ वास्तवमा अब यो भगवान विष्णुको चाहिँ एउटा आस्थाको केन्द्रबिन्दु
This place is a center of devotion for all followers of Lord Vishnu. Most people come here with the belief that their prayers will be heard and their wishes fulfilled.
For many visitors, the temple acts as an entry point to both spiritual and natural beauty, attracting pilgrims from Nepal and abroad. Today, Buddha Nilkantha stands not only as a religious site but also as a cultural heritage treasure. The government, local communities and devotees continue to work together to protect and preserve it for future generations.
The United States and Iran reached a ceasefire agreement just under 90 minutes before President Trump's deadline, a deadline he had backed with a threat that whole civilization will be wiped out.
این پیروزی را به همه مردم ایران تبریک میگوییم و تأکید میکنیم که هنوز تا نهایی شدن جزئیات این پیروزی نیاز به استقامت و تدبیر مسئولان و حفظ وحدت و همبستگی مردم ایران وجود دارد. دستهای ما روی ماشه است و به محض آنکه کوچکترین خطایی از دشمن سر بزند با قدرت کامل به آن پاسخ داده خواهد شد.
As part of the deal brokered by Pakistan, the US and Israel agreed to suspend bombing for 2 weeks while Iran committed to reopening the Strait of Hormuz for maritime traffic. The agreement, being called the Islamabad Accords, was based on a 10-point Iranian proposal with further negotiations set for Islamabad this Friday. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, who has been the key intermediary, said the ceasefire takes effect immediately and covers Lebanon as well. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office later said the deal does not extend to the fighting in Lebanon. World leaders have welcomed the announcement of a 2-week ceasefire between the United States and Iran aimed at pausing hostilities and reopening diplomatic channels. China said it supports mediation efforts and has made its own contributions to encourage a truce.
首先，中方对有关方面宣布达成停火安排表示欢迎。我们支持巴基斯坦等国所做的斡旋努力。中方一贯主张尽快停火止战，通过政治外交途径化解争端，最终实现中东和海湾地区的长治久安。中方也为此做出了自己的努力。
Similarly, Pope Leo XIV has also hailed Iran's ceasefire as sign of real hope.
A seguito di queste ultime ore di grande tensione per il Medio Oriente e per tutto il mondo, accolgo con soddisfazione e come segno di viva speranza l'annuncio di una tregua immediata di 2 settimane. Solo attraverso il ritorno al negoziato si può giungere alla fine della guerra.
French President Emmanuel Macron has also lauded the US-Iran ceasefire as a very good thing.
Nous l'avons dit et redit depuis aussi, nous aurons à y revenir et à coordonner la manœuvre pour permettre d'être utile.
Australia also welcomed the ceasefire while criticizing the escalating rhetoric from Washington. Israeli airstrikes struck areas around Sidon, Lebanon, despite the 2-week ceasefire agreed between the United States and Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Lebanon is not included in the truce, citing security concerns. Lebanese parliament member Abdul Rahman Bezri condemned the attacks, calling for Lebanon to be included in ceasefire talks.
الجميع كان ينتظر الأخبار تطور المباحثات وكان الجميع يأمل أن نصل إلى نتائج نسبيا إيجابية فإذا بهذه المزرة التي تقع ونحن نقول أن الاستهداف ربما مستمر نأمل أن يكون لبنان جزءا من هذه المفاوضات.
Pakistan's Prime Minister also called for Lebanon to be included, urging restraint to protect civilians. The post-ceasefire attacks underline how fragile the agreement remains, with Iranian forces appearing to have launched pre-planned strikes before the ceasefire could take full effect. International oil prices fell by 13% following the US-Iran ceasefire announcement, one of the sharpest single-day drops in years, as markets priced in the prospect of the Strait of Hormuz reopening. Before the ceasefire, US crude had surged above $113 a barrel, with the US Energy Information Administration forecasting gasoline prices could peak at $4.30 a gallon this month. The Iran war had caused Gulf states to collectively shut in an estimated 7.5 million barrels per day of crude oil production in March, with that figure expected to rise to 9.1 million barrels this month. However, the drop may be short-lived. The EIA cautioned that Middle East oil production is unlikely to return close to pre-conflict levels until late 2026, even if the strait reopens. As the oil prices around the world continue to fluctuate due to the Middle East tension, Tesla, the US car maker, has announced major slash in price. The move comes amid intensifying competition in the global electric vehicle sector. Tesla has reduced prices of several models in major markets, including China and United States. The company aims to boost demand and maintain market share as rivals expand production. Price adjustments have become more frequent across the EV industry in recent months. The strategy may put pressure on competitors and overall profit margins. North Korea fired multiple ballistic missiles on both Tuesday and Wednesday, two back-to-back launch days, with South Korea's military detecting the Wednesday launch from the Wonsan area toward the East Sea. The missiles traveled approximately 150 miles. It marks the fourth confirmed ballistic missile test by Pyongyang this year. The launches came after South Korean President Lee Jae-myung expressed regret on Monday over civilian drone flights into North Korea in January, calling the incursions irresponsible. US Indo-Pacific Command said it is consulting closely with allies and assessed the launches pose no immediate threat to US personnel, territory, or its allies in the region. The International Organization for Migration has recorded at least 990 deaths crossing the Mediterranean Sea so far in 2026, making it one of the deadliest starts to a year since 2014. In one recent incident, more than 80 migrants went missing when a boat capsized in the central Mediterranean after departing from Libya, with around 120 people on board. Separately, 19 bodies were found on a vessel adrift for 3 days off the coast of southern Italy near Lampedusa. Aid organizations warn the death toll may worsen as summer approaches and more crossings are attempted, while funding for search and rescue operations continues to fall short of what is needed. A nighttime Russian strike hit the Romny community in Sumy region, Ukraine on April 8, killing at least one person and injuring 3 others. Firefighters battled multiple fires caused by the strike, working under the ongoing threat of additional attacks. Romny, located near Ukraine's northeastern border, has been repeatedly targeted since the conflict escalated last year. The strike destroyed homes and infrastructure, forcing emergency crews to provide aid to affected residents. The attack comes amid continued military operations in the region, highlighting the persistent risks to civilians. Violence erupted in the town of Bishnupur in the northeastern Indian state of Manipur, leaving 4 people dead, including 2 children. Smoke rose from smoldering vehicles as injured residents were treated in local hospitals. Authorities imposed a partial internet shutdown to prevent the spread of misinformation amid the unrest. Manipur, which shares a border with Myanmar, has faced repeated communal and ethnic tensions in recent months. Officials say security forces have been deployed to restore order and prevent further clashes. Indigenous communities from across Brazil have marched to the capital Brasilia, demanding stronger protection of their ancestral lands. The demonstrators are calling on the government of Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva to speed up the demarcation of indigenous territories. The protest also targets Congress as tensions rise ahead of upcoming national elections. Indigenous leaders say their land, forests, and rivers must remain protected from exploitation. NASA's Artemis II crew, 4 astronauts aboard the Orion spacecraft, is now on its way back to Earth after completing a record-breaking trip around the moon, traveling farther from Earth than any humans ever before. The crew set a new record on April 6, reaching a distance of 252,760 miles from Earth, surpassing the previous mark set by the Apollo 13 mission in 1970. During the lunar flyby, the crew witnessed and photographed a total solar eclipse from behind the moon, a sight never before seen by human eyes. Splashdown is scheduled for Friday, April 10th, off the coast of San Diego, California. The mission is part of NASA's broader Artemis program, which aims to return astronauts to the lunar surface as early as 2028. Apple is rolling out expanded artificial intelligence features across its devices and services. The update aims to enhance user experience through improved automation and personalization. The company is focusing on integrating AI into everyday applications. This comes as major tech firms compete to strengthen their AI ecosystems. The rollout is expected to reach users in phases over the coming months.
कुण्डमा जानुभएको छ, म पनि पुगेर आएँ। दुधकुण्ड असाध्यै पवित्र स्थल यो हिमाल काखमा रहेको तीर्थस्थल हो, पुण्यस्थल हो, देवस्थल हो र त्यहाँ चाहिँ एकचोटि पुग्नै पर्दो रहेछ। त्यहाँ पुगेर जुन आनन्दको अनुभूति हुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ कहीँ पनि पाइँदैन भन्ने चाहिँ महसुस भयो।
आनन्द लाग्यो, मस्त लाग्यो। अनि यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ आएर तपस्या गरेर बस्नु जस्तो जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई।
एकदमै राम्रो लाग्यो होइन, प्रकृतिले दिएको रमणीय तीर्थस्थल होइन। जो कोही पनि एकचोटि चाहिँ यहाँ आएर एकचोटि भ्रमण गरेर दर्शन
In the high mountains, where the air thins and silence deepens, an ancient discipline endures. More than art, this is meditation in motion. A prayer woven into canvas, finding the divine within. This is Thanka.
Thanka भने चाहिँ त्यो समतल भूमि भने हो के हैन, त्यो स्पेस भने हो। त्यो रेसेमा पनि तपाईले सेतो गणमा स्पेस देख्यो हैन, हो त्यसमा चाहिँ का लेख्ने भने चाहिँ बुद्धको वचन लेख्ने भने हो के। त्यो बुद्धको वचन बागल चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ शुद्ध छ हैन, राम्रो छ। त्यसले चाहिँ मानव जीवनलाई चाहिँ कल्याण, मानव जीवनलाई मात्र नभएर प्राणी जगतलाई नै चाहिँ कल्याण गर्ने चिज हो थाङ्गा। त्यही भएर चाहिँ जीवन जिउनेसँग चाहिँ रिलेटेड छ भनेर भने हो। त्यो चाहिँ पञ्चतत्त्वको रूपमा चाहिँ त्यो चिनाएर त्यो तत्त्वलाई त्यो ठाउँमा जानुपर्छ भनेरको यो त आशयको रूपमा चाहिँ लगेको हुन्छ।
Thanka painting is more than art. It's devotion on canvas, rooted in Buddha philosophy, traditions, and shaped by centuries of Buddhist influence. Each stroke tells a story of enlightenment.
This is not from painter's own mind. This is from the book. So painters, they have to strictly follow the rules. Through meditation, we can understand our true nature. And when we understand our true nature, we understand everybody. And our true nature is compassion. Our true nature is wisdom. And when we practice these things, we find peace, and that peace is permanent.
Thangka painting is not merely creation. It is consecration, rooted in Buddhist philosophy and perfected through centuries. Each brushstroke carries the weight of a mantra, each color a fragment of enlightenment.
खाइबो भन्छ हामीले चाहिँ आर्टिस्टलाई त्यो खाइबाले चाहिँ किन आएर चाहिँ ढोग्यो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ तीनचोटि ढोग्यो त्यो शरण गमन गरे हो कि म बुद्धको शरणमा छु भन्ने हो त्यो चाहिँ बुद्ध चित्त उत्पात गर्ने भन्छ कि चित्त तपाईको शुद्ध हुनु पर्यो हैन त्यो शुद्ध भएर लेखेको थाङ्गाले चाहिँ अरूलाई पनि राम्रो गर्ने पनि सबै प्राणी हितको लागि चाहिँ यो मैले गरेको लेखेको बुद्ध वचनले चाहिँ उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ राम्रो होस् भन्ने आशाका साथ चाहिँ छोड्नुपर्छ कि हो यसरी चाहिँ लेखेको हुन्छ थाङ्गा चाहिँ
The Thangka is a visual sculpture, a spiritual map to transcendence. Every artist begins not with imagination, but with surrender to discipline, devotion, and compassion for all living beings. To paint is to meditate. To complete is to awaken. In today's studios, the old and the new converge. Tutors like Sushan Subedi introduce curious travelers to ancient grammar of lines and color.
All of the painting you are seeing over here, so these are known as Thangka, which is a Tibetan word which means the painting that is painted on a cotton surface. Okay, so first of all what we do is, we just take a normal cotton like this and we stretch it on a wooden frame very hardly and very tightly. Okay, so while tying it very hard on normal cotton, what happens is there are some millions of tiny holes. So if you pour the color can bleed. So we cannot do the painting on a normal cotton. So we have a process, we call it the process of canvas.
While at nearby workshops, artists like Sonam still lose themselves in the ritual of creation.
यो चाहिँ बम्बई ड्याङ कटन जुन यसैबाट चाहिँ हाम्रो ट्रेडिसनल आर्टको चाहिँ थाङ्का फर्स्ट प्रोसेसिङ चाहिँ यहीँबाट हुन्छ सरेस भन्ने गरिन्छ हामीले यो चाहिँ खासमा र याक स्किन भनेर चाहिँ प्रयोग गरिन्छ पहिलेको त्यो हिस्ट्री हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अनि अब यो चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ माध्यम चाहिँ यो ग्लुको काम गर्छ यसले चाहिँ यो र हामीले चाहिँ माटो मिसाएर चाहिँ यसमा पानी लगाएर अब यसको कति मात्रा उ गरेर तताइसकेपछि चाहिँ अनि अब हामीले कत्रो क्यानभस बनाउने कतिवटा बनाउने त्यो हिसाबले हामीले यो सरेस माटो भनिन्छ त्यो मिलाएर मात्रा मिलाएर हामीले प्रोसेसिङमा जानु सकिन्छ हामीले चाहिँ यो क्यानभस बनाउँदाखेरि समय अनुसार मौसम अनुसारले पनि बनाउनु पर्ने हुन्छ घाम लाग्ने बेलामा बनाउन सक्यो भने हामीले छिटो आफ्नो कामहरु छिटो छरिदो बनाउन सकिन्छ र झरी पर्ने बेलामा चाहिँ हामीलाई निकै समय लाग्छ त्यसले गर्दाखेरि यो घाम लाग्ने बेलामा हामीले बनाउन सक्यौं भने छिटो अनि यसलाई आफुलाई चाहिने मात्रामा पटक पटक यता दुई साइडमा चाहिँ क्लिन गर्नु सफा गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ अनि कतिको मात्रा हामीलाई चाहिन्छ त्यो पुगिसकेपछि हामीले त्यसपछि स्केचमा जानुपर्ने हुन्छ यो सुकिसकेपछि चाहिँ एउटा यसरी पनि हामीले चेक गर्न सकिन्छ हामीले कतिको तयारी भयो भएन यो आवाज आउनु पर्ने हुन्छ जस्तै अब ओसिएको छ भने बेग्लै आवाज आउँछ, सुकेको छ भने राम्रो आवाज आउँछ यो।
Thangka painting begins with the canvas stretched tight, once upon wood, now upon iron frames. The glue that seals it, once drawn from the yak, now sourced from the maple or synthesized in a lab. Yet in the scent of drying paste, the artist still reads the readiness of the soul of the painting.
So after the sketching is done, second thing we do is the coloring. So while coloring, we have different levels of artists in our school. Like from the beginner level, we have intermediate and the master level of artists. So if you go with the beginner intermediate, they use the acrylic colors. But if you go with the master level of artists, so they use the stone colors like this. Okay, so why they use the stone color is stone being a natural color. So while we apply this sort of color in the art, it remains for the longer period of time, because natural thing, it doesn't have expiry date. Yeah, so the meaning and the philosophy of an art, the art itself, it is preserved for the longer period of time. So that's why they use the stone. And for the finishing of an art, so we use 24 karat real gold on the painting. Okay, so why we use the gold is not to make the painting very expensive, but if you see in Hinduism, in Buddhism, gold, it is signified as in purity. So to purify the meaning and the philosophy behind the art, so we use 24 karat real gold.
Every line follows a rule, every proportion holds meaning. The face of the deity isn't imagined, it slowly reveals itself, guided by sacred patterns that keep harmony between the world outside and the spirit within. The colors come from the earth, crushed stones and minerals mixed with glue, made to last for generations. Lapis brings purity, malachite speaks of compassion, and cinnabar carries wisdom. These are just colors, they are prayers in pigment.
प्राचीन कालमा चाहिँ यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ पाँचवटा कलर लेख्ने हो। पाँच कलर जस्तो अग्नि तत्त्व, वायु तत्त्व, माटो तत्त्व, हावा तत्त्व, पाँच तत्त्वले बनाएको हो। त्यो पाँच तत्त्वले किन बनाएको भने त्यो पाँच तत्त्वबाट हाम्रो शरीर बनाएको छ नि। यो थाङ्गा भनेको चाहिँ वास्तवमा के हो भने जे जति थाङ्गामा छ त्यो हामीसँगै छ, जे हामीसँग त्यो थाङ्गामै छ। त्यसकारण त्यो बेला चाहिँ त्यो नेचुरल, हामी पनि नेचुरली बनाएको हो नि त, प्रकृतिले बनाएको नि। थाङ्गा पनि प्रकृति नै हो। त्यसमा अलिक चाहिँ कलर के छ भने पाँचवटा कलरमा हामीले मिसाउँदाखेरि अर्को कलर बन्छ। त्यो पाँचवटा कलरमा त्यो पुग्दैन। त्यो बेला त्यो रियालिटी थाङ्गाबाट नजिक बसेर साधना गर्दा हामीलाई त्यो भाइब्रेसन आउँछ, पोजिटिभ कुरा आउँछ। यो त खालि बुद्धले टिकाको टिचिङ गर्नुभएको नेचुरल फेनोमेना छ नि, नेचर माइन्ड छ नि, त्योसँग रिलेटेड छ यो।
Home Bahadur Tamang, a gifted Thangka artist from the spiritual heart of Buddha, has turned his craft into a global bridge between tradition and business.
थाङ्गा चाहिँ मैले 1970 सिक्न सुरुवात गरेको। मेरो टिचर चाहिँ मभन्दा अघिल्लो मेरो दाइ हो, साइला दाइ। मेरो चाहिँ बाउपादेखि नै कलाकार हुनुहुन्थ्यो। पाटन, भक्तपुर, छामेल, दरबार स्क्वायरमा यसै पसल बेच्ने काम हुन्थ्यो। अनि त्यो बेच्दा मैले यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ विदेशीले किन्दो रहेछ, आफैले विदेशसँग बेच्नुपर्छ भन्ने अलिकति मनमा मलाई अलिकति सोच आयो। त्यसपछि मैले 2050 सालमा यहाँ सुरु गरेँ, आजभन्दा 32 वर्ष अगाडि।
What began as a young artist's journey through the streets of Kathmandu has blossomed into a thriving enterprise where sacred art meets business and tourism. With every brushstroke, home brings Nepal's rich spiritual heritage to the world. transforming Thanka painting into a symbol of cultural fusion.
त्यो बेला चाहिँ पसल कोही पनि यहाँ थिएन किनभने त्यो मार्केटले चाहिँ कहाँ मार्केट हुन्छ भन्ने खोज्दै रहेछ त्यो खोज्ने क्रममा म यहाँ आइपुग्यो विदेशीहरू पनि यहाँ त्यति अहिले जस्तो बस्दैन 5 मिनेट 10 मिनेटमा घुमेर जानुहुन्थ्यो त्यतिखेर खाने रेस्टुरेन्ट पनि एकजना मात्रै थियो एउटा मात्रै थियो अहिले चाहिँ होस् त्यो बेला र अहिलेमा धेरै आकाश जमिनको फरक भएको छ
His story is one of passion, innovation, and a deep commitment to preserving tradition while embracing the future.
विशेष गरी यो बौद्ध स्तूपसँग रिलेटेड छ यो बुद्धको शिक्षासँग रिलेटेड यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ संसारको मानिसहरू यो स्तूपलाई घुम्ने क्रममा यो प्रार्थना गर्ने मेन आउँ ठाउँ चाहिँ यो रहेछ त्यसो भएको हुनाले यो चाहिँ विशेष गरी ओल्ड हेरिटेज साइटमा चाहिँ त्यो पनि के हो बुद्धिस्टको भएको हुनाले चाहिँ नेपालभरि कुनै थाङ्का बिक्ने ठाउँ चाहिँ अति महत्त्वपूर्ण चाहिँ यो नै हो वास्तवमा किनभने रिलेटेड छ यो बुद्धसँग
From the hills of Ramechhap to the heart of Bodha, Home Bahadur Damang has a glorious story to tell. A story of will, determination, struggle, and success.
म आफै पनि रामछाप दुर्गम जिल्लामा जन्मेको चाहिँ रोजगार छैन त्यहाँ स्कुल छैन कलेज छैन अस्पताल छैन रोजगार छैन त्यसपछि म पनि रोजगारकै क्रममा यहाँ आएर मैले सुरुवात गर्यो अहिले चाहिँ म लगभग 49 वर्ष भयो यही पेसा गरेर बालबात खाएको अब नयाँ पुस्तालाई पनि मैले हस्तान्तरण गर्नुपर्छ है भन्ने मेरो एउटा उद्देश्यले चाहिँ अहिले मैले नयाँ पुस्तालाई चाहिँ गाउँबाट आउनुहुन्छ स्कुल सकेर अनि बिहान चाहिँ कलेज जानुहुन्छ दिउँसो काम छैन त्यसकारणले मैले 3 महिना फ्री ट्रेनिङ दिने गरेको छ उहाँको स्किल अनुसार टेस्ट गरेर हामीले यही तलब दिएर जस्तो बिहान कलेज पनि भ्यायो उसको कति हो त्यसो त्यहाँबाट एक्स्ट्रा टाइम चाहिँ 5 घण्टा 6 घण्टा 7 घण्टा पनि यहाँ जीवन चलाउने चाहिँ काम भइरहेको छ अहिले
For 49 years, he painted, taught, and empowered young artisans. Today, his school preserves tradition and creates futures.
हामीले यहाँ सुरुमा इन्टरभ्यू लिन्छु त्यसपछि एक हप्ता चाहिँ नि सानो क्यानभासमा हात ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु त्यसको शरीरको बडीहरू अलिकति ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु अनि एक हप्तापछि ओके भनेर ओके या यस भने कोही मानिस नसक्ने चाहिँ नि आधा घण्टामा 1 घण्टामा उठेर गइहाल्छ म सक्दैन ढाड दुख्यो किन उसको मन धेरै भएर गयो त्यो सक्दैन ऊ आउँदैन एक दिन पनि आउँदैन मात्रै आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो हामीले अपाङ्गलाई पनि सिकाएको छ जस्तो बाहिर कान नसुन्ने पनि सिकाएको छ आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो त्यस्तै हो
As interest in Buddhism grows worldwide, so does the appreciation for our sacred art. Foreigners now come not just to admire but to learn, studying our architecture techniques and meditative Thanka traditions, giving new life to what was once known only within our borders.
बुद्धिज्म नेपाल हो नेपालमा जति छन् विश्वसम्पादकमा सूचीमा भएको मठ मन्दिर गुम्बद छ यसैबाट उहाँले पनि सिकेको वास्तवमा यो जुन बौद्ध स्तूपरा भनौँ लुम्बिनी त्यो जस्तो उहाँहरूले बनाउन सक्दैन तर यसको चाहिँ एकदम महत्त्वपूर्ण के छ भवन या चाहिँ दोस्रो तेस्रो बुद्धको रिलेटिभ यहाँ छ जति चाहिँ अहिले संसारमा यो बुद्धिज्म फैलिँदै जान्छ यो महायान बुद्धिज्म त्यतिकै ठाङ्गको भ्यालु चाहिँ बढ्दैछ अहिले जस्तो मेरै कुरा हो मैले 40-45 वर्ष यति ठाङ्गको महत्त्व थिएन किनभने वर्ल्ड वाइडमा बुद्धिज्ममा थिएन विदेशीहरूले जानेकै थिएन उनीहरूले त्यो सुरु आउँदाखेरि सानो तिनी एउटा नेपाल आउँदाखेरि सुपर किन नलैजाऊ भन्ने मान्दै लाइन थियो अहिले चाहिँ उहाँहरू चाहिँ जस्तो अमेरिका युरोप तपाईँको यो सिङ्गापुर ताइवान मलेसिया विभिन्न देशमा चाहिँ अहिले बुद्धिस्ट प्र्याक्टिसनर धेरै उहाँहरू चाहिँ गर्नुहुन्छ त्यसको लागि चाहिँ एकदमै महत्त्वपूर्ण छ त्यसकारणले भविष्यमा यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ छ यसको मार्केट छ
As an artist, entrepreneur, and a master, he feels fulfilled, creating beauty, guiding others, and living with purpose.
मैले संसार जीवन जगतलाई थाहा पायो अहिले हामी सांसारिक जीवन छ सांसारिक जीवनमा कसरी जिउने र अर्कोलाई पनि कसरी जिउन दिने कला थाहा पायो त्यसपछि अब जुन देशमा जन्मे पनि जुन कुलमा जन्मे पनि 100% निश्चित के हो भने मृत्यु छ त्यो त निश्चित हो नि एउटै निश्चित छैन कहिले पनि निश्चित छैन तर त्यो मर्नेमा म कसरी मर्ने भन्ने कला पनि थाहा पाएँ मैले मलाई त धेरै परिवर्तन भएको छ। मैले परिवर्तन भयो भने के हुन्छ, मैले ठुलो पचेरो चढ्यो ठुलो गा त्यस्तो होइन, तर मलाई खुसी छ। सादा दाल भात खान पाएछ, मैले परिवार पाल्नु पाएछ। यही थाङ्गाले म जापान घुम्यो, युरोप गयो, चाइना घुम्यो, बुद्धिस्ट कन्ट्री सबै घुमेको छ। सबै ठाउँमा मैले घुम्नलाई मलाई पैसा आपत पनि परेन। थाङ्गा सँगसँगै लाँदै ब्रिफिङ गर्दै बेच्दै दर्शन बेचेको हो। त्यसकारण मलाई त एकदम खुसी छु म त पनि।
Then comes the awakening, the eyes. Until that moment, the thanga is silent. When the artist paints the peoples, the deity is invited to reside within. The canvas breathes, the prayer begins. From quiet Himalayan ateliers to the galleries in Tokyo, Berlin, and New York, thangas now travel far beyond the monasteries. They adorn homes, museums, and collectors' walls, a global symbol of Nepal's artistic devotion.
And mostly, Thanka word itself is a Tibetan word, so this tradition belongs to Tibetan people. This tradition belongs to Tamang. This tradition belongs to Newar community. Although they have different expression of color, technique, the detail, but this tradition, this culture belongs to these three community, and this is kind of passed on tradition. They learn this skill from their father, forefather, to the new generation. This is how this tradition has been continuing and preserving. So it is beneficial for them to live their life, and it is beneficial for the country because this is a culture, and culture and tradition is the treasure of each country.
The trade sustains thousands. From the hum of Bodha's alleys to export crates bound for distant lands, Thangka has become a vital thread in Nepal's creative economy. Yet, as markets grow, so does the tension between faith and fame, between meditation and merchandise.
कला चाहिँ दुवै राम्रै हो हैन, आफ्नो आफ्नै फिलोसफी भन्ने हो। यसले चाहिँ तपाईको मन भित्रको डेप्थमा जाने सिकाउने हो। यसमा चाहिँ यो चाहिँ मिहिन काम हुन्छ, कठिन पनि हुन्छ के, किनभने यसमा चाहिँ तपाईले चाहिँ अघिको जस्तो धेरै चीजहरु चाहिँ लिनुपर्छ, अनुशासन लिनु पर्यो हैन, यसको विधि विधानमा बसेर गर्नुपर्छ। यसमा चाहिँ अब त्यो चाहिँ तपाईको मनमा जुन फिलिङ्स आउँछ त्यो लेखिहाल्ने हो के, त्यो गर्दाखेरि त्यसले पनि वर्ल्डमा चलिरहेछ। यसले चाहिँ नेपालले किन त्यो अब त्यसलाई चाहिँ कम्पिटिसन गर्न सक्छ भने चाहिँ यो चीज चाहिँ अरूले गर्न सक्दैन, किनभने त्यसमा मेडिटेसन ध्यान जस्तै गर्नुपर्छ कि। सरकारी स्कुलबाट चाहिँ स्कुलिङदेखि नै गर्नुपर्छ, यसको पाठ्यक्रमहरू बनाउनु पर्छ हैन। एउटा त्यो गरिसकेपछि यसको प्रमोट हुन्छ हैन। हामीलाई चाहिने त त्यो प्रवर्धन हो नि, तर ब्याङ्किङहरूले पनि के गर्नु पर्यो भने यसलाई चाहिँ बिना दिदोमा पनि के अरे ऋण दिने वातावरण हैन, कलाकारको के छुट्याएर के। अनि तपाईको हामीले ट्याक्स तिर्नुपर्छ, ट्याक्स तिर्दाखेरि पनि कुनै एउटा चिज चाहिँ कलाकारलाई कुन ओतामा राखेर त्यसको एउटा ब्यालेन्स एउटा गरेर सरकारले गरिदियो भने यसको झन् अझ फ्रस्टिन्छ कि। फ्रस्टिएपछि त यो नेपालकै लागि चाहिँ यसले चाहिँ पर्यटनलाई पनि विकास हुने, अनि त्यो स्कुल कलेजमा भयो भने पुस्ता हस्तान्तरण चाहिँ एकदम दिगो हुन्छ कि।
All the Thanka has same meaning of peace. So foreigner, they admire philosophy. Practitioner also, they choose deities mostly to practice, to visualize, and they imagine the quality of deities with themselves. And some least person, they want it as a souvenir to decorate for the positive vibe. Some they buy it for the gift for their loved one. Philosophy reminds us about the beautiful quality, and that quality gives us peace, and that peace is everyone searching for. So Thanka painting is very, very important for everyone because it is relevant with our life. If it is relevant with our life, that is truth.
But beyond commerce and canvas, a Thanka is still a mirror, reflecting a way of life where art and spirit breathe as one. Every brush that moves today carries the echo of generations, an unbroken whisper from monastery walls to the modern world. As the sun sets over the Himalayas, somewhere an artist bows before a finished Thanka. His work is now complete, his prayer released. For in every stroke lies a journey from pigment to prayer, from devotion to eternity. This is not just Nepal's art, it is Nepal's soul, painted into time.
Annapurna Circuit Trek features in world's 10 best destinations and adventures. The trekking circuit is the choice of many trekkers as it offers both adventure along with mesmerizing view of mountain ranges. Arguably the best trekking circuit in the world, travelers get up close with dozens of mountains including the Annapurna, Dhaulagiri, Nilgiri. Annapurna Circuit ideally is a 14-day trek. The circuit passes through Lamjung, Manang, Mustang and Myagdi district, including Thorangla Pass as the highest point. Places including Thampus, Ghandruk and Poon Hill are part of this trekking circuit. The revered Muktinath shrine is also part of the circuit. Only foreigners were seen in this circuit few years back, but now domestic tourists are also flocking the area. If you are looking for a lifetime trekking experience, then pack your bags for Annapurna trekking circuit. Mardi Base Camp Trek, also part of the Annapurna circuit, is another alternative route for trekkers who can't afford time. Trekkers can be up close with mountains including the Annapurna range, Dhaulagiri, Machapuchre and Manasalu in this circuit. This 7-day circuit is attracting many trekkers for obvious reasons.
कसैले पनि अब व्हीलचेयरमै चाहिँ बन्जी गर्नुभएको छैन।
अहिले चाहिँ आई एम भेरी एक्साइटेड।
रमाइलो यस 2 1 बन्जे
डिफ्रेन्ट आइडियाहरू हुन्छ हाम्रो जस्तै अब खुट्टामा लगाएर नर्मली जम्प गर्नुपर्ने उहाँहरूले चाहिँ हामी बडीमा मात्रै लगाएर जम्प गराउँछौँ
लेट्स गो
The last resort, offering adventurous thrill over Bhotekosi River in Sindhupalchok district of central Nepal. From the launch pad, a suspension bridge over the river, a free fall 160 meters down the gorge. This bridge had been the launch pad for the courageous and adventure seekers for years. But on this day, the jump was not just about adrenaline rush, but also about defiance, about breaking the barriers. Dilip, a fierce advocate for inclusive tourism, has spent years pushing boundaries, paragliding, ziplining, even bungee jumping without a chair.
म अपङ्गता भइसके पछाडी म आफूलाई कसरी रिफ्रेश बनाउने त म आफै चाहिँ कसरी ह्याप्पी हुन्छु भनेर आफैले आफैलाई बुझ्दाखेरि चाहिँ मैले घुम्दा ट्राभलहरू गर्दा एडभेन्चरहरू गर्दा अझ म बढी आफै खुसी भएको पाएँ अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ मलाई बन्जी मैले प्याराग्लाइडिङहरू गरेँ प्याराग्लाइडिङहरू गरिसके पछाडी बन्जी पनि गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने लाग्यो अनि मैले बन्जी गरेँ बन्जी गरेपछि होइन अब यो बन्जीलाई पनि एकचोटि व्हीलचेयरमा पनि बन्जी गर्नुपर्छ हैन नेपालमा म चाहिँ अपङ्गता भएका साथीहरूले चाहिँ एडभेन्चरकोमा चाहिँ अलि पछाडी देखिने उहाँहरू खासै त्यति धेरै एडभेन्चरहरू गर्नलाई खेलहरू त्यस्तो खेलहरू खेल्नलाई डराउने यस्तो हुन्छ उस्तो हुन्छ भन्ने उहाँहरूको चाहिँ मेन्टालिटी पनि थियो र त्यो मेन्टालिटीलाई पनि चिर्नुपर्छ मैले यो सकिन्छ हामीले पनि खेल्न सक्छौँ गर्न सक्छौँ र एउटा चाहिँ समावेशी पर्यटनलाई पनि यो एउटा वकालत पनि हुन्छ नेपाल सरकार लगायत सम्बन्धित निकायलाई यो वकालतको पनि एडभोकेसी पनि गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने उद्देश्य राखेर मैले चाहिँ बन्जी गरेको
Sisir, an agricultural entrepreneur living with spinal paralysis, has turned his challenges into advocacy.
म अनेस्टली भन्नुपर्दा यो चाहिँ पुरै अनप्लान्ड नै हो हैन जति पनि मेरो लाइफमा म जति पनि एडभेन्चर अथवा उ गर्छु हैन त्यति धेरै प्लान गरेर चाहिँ गर्दिम भनेपछि गर्दिम भन्ने टाइपले चाहिँ यसको लागि चाहिँ म विशेष धन्यवाद हाम्रो दिलीप सरलाई म दिन चाहन्छु है उहाँले मलाई थाहा नै नदिकन ल आज जाम भनेर भन्नुभयो मैले आज भोलि हामी बन्जी जम्प गर्दैछौँ भनेर हिजो दोलालघाट आइपुगेपछि हामी काठमाडौँबाट हिँडेको मान्छे दोलालघाट आइपुगेपछि थाहा पाएको सो अब गरौँ न त आइसक्यो भनेर चाहिँ हैन एउटा अनुभव पनि हुन्छ लाइफमा हामी जस्तो अपाङ्गता भएको व्यक्तिले पनि गर्न सकिन्छ है भन्ने टाइपले हैन अनि त्यहाँबाट अरूलाई मोटिभेट गर्नलाई साथसाथै अब आफ्नो पनि एउटा रिफ्रेसमेन्टको लागि चाहिँ अब आज हामी बन्जी जम्प गर्न जाँदैछौँ
Together, the goal was clear: to inspire thousands and redefine what people with disabilities can achieve. A wheelchair bungee jump was no ordinary feat. It demanded innovation, precision, and absolute commitment. The team designed a secure rigging system, checked every bolt and knot, ensuring the wheelchairs and harnesses could withstand the extreme forces.
सेट बाबु खासै त्यस्तो डिफरेन्ट त होइन उहाँहरूको अब स्पेशल अलिकति समस्या भएर त्यो अनुसारको सेफ तरिकाले गर्ने अर्को डिफरेन्ट आइडियाहरू हुन्छ हाम्रो जस्तै अब खुट्टामा लगाएर नर्मली जम्प गर्नुपर्ने उहाँले चाहिँ हामी बडीमा मात्रै लगाएर जम्प गराउँछौँ सो खुट्टामा चाहिँ केही पनि प्रेसर पर्दैन ढाडमा पनि कम प्रेसर पर्छ सो त्यसरी गर्दा चाहिँ उहाँलाई एकदम कम्फर्टेबल हुन्छ अनि प्लस अब उहाँले अब तल गएर तान्नुपर्ने हुक गर्नुपर्ने कुराहरू हुन्छ सकेसम्म उहाँहरूले ट्राई गर्नु भएन भने हामी एकजना रेस्क्यु स्ट्यान्ड बाई हुन्छ अनि त्यसको लागि चाहिँ हामी अलिक प्रिपेयर गरेर गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ अब सेफ्टीको हिसाबले अलिकति डिफ्रेन्ट तरिका चाहिँ अप्नाउनु पर्यो हामीले
This was not a stunt, it was proof that adventure can be made accessible.
34 अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय अपाङ्गता दिवस हो सो यो अपाङ्गता दिवसकै दिनमा चाहिँ के एउटा चाहिँ एडभेन्चर गरौँ हैन कसैले पनि अब व्हिलचेयरमै चाहिँ बन्जी गर्नुभएको छैन त्यसको लागि पनि एउटा चाहिँ पहिलोचोटि गर्दै हेर अरू साथीहरूलाई पनि एउटा चाहिँ इन्करेज गरौँ भन्ने चाहना हो खास
At the edge of the platform, silence fell. Dilip rolled forward first. The count began.
Happy International Disability Day, all of you.
A symbol of confinement transformed into a vessel of freedom, probably the first ever wheelchair bungee jump in Nepal.
Promax bungee! खासै अहिले चाहिँ पुरा म नर्मल चाहिँ एकदम चिलमा छु हैन अब यहाँ हाम फाल्दाखेरि चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ म हाम फालिसकेपछि अनुभव सुनाउँछु अहिले चाहिँ आई एम भेरी एक्साइटेड आई एम गोइङ टु डु समथिङ फर माइसेल्फ हैन आई एम गोइङ टु डु माई फर्स्ट बन्जी अफ माई लाइफ सो आई एम भेरी एक्साइटेड
Then came Sisir's turn. With equal determination, he embraced the drop.
Well, let's go.
His leap cemented the moment, not a solo feat, but a shared victory.
रमाइलो यस उहाँले आर यु रेडी भन्नुभयो मैले ठिक छ म रेडी भने मैले आँखा चिम्म गरिदिएँ अनि त्यसपछि ठ्याक्कै उहाँले 1 2 3 जम्प भन्नुभयो उहाँले पुस गरिदिनु भयो मलाई म पुस गरेको आँखा चिम्मको चिम्म तल पुगेपछि ठ्याक्क त्यो डोरीले तान्छ नि तानेर माथि आएपछि त्यो समय चाहिँ मैले यस्तो फिल गरेँ कि म बाँचेँ हैन मसँग अब चाहिँ सबै चिजहरू मसँग फेरि पनि छ र म चाहिँ एकदमै आनन्द त्यो टाइमको त्यो 2 सेकेन्ड 3 सेकेन्डको एउटा चाहिँ ह्याप्पिनेस एउटा त्यो रिफ्रेस एउटा त्यो फिलले चाहिँ एकदमै ह्याप्पी दियो क्या मलाई इनर्जी भित्रदेखि मसँग भइरहेको सिद्धिरहेको एउटा चाहिँ इनर्जीलाई ठ्याक्क दियो त्यो झर्दाखेरिको चाहिँ मेरो माइन्ड पुरै रिसेट भइदियो जस्तो भयो क्या केही पनि छैन म एकदमै निलो एकदम नील मसँग केही पनि छैन रित्तियो सकियो मैले सबै चिज छोडिदिएर म झरिसकेको थिएँ हाम फालिसकेको थिएँ तर पुगेर ठ्याक्क तानेर ल्याउँदाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो एउटा मुभमेन्ट चाहिँ मेरो लाइफको चाहिँ एकदम इन्जोयफुल मुभमेन्ट हो जसले चाहिँ मलाई चाहिँ आजको दिनसम्म अझ धेरै उत्प्रेरणाहरू जगाएको एउटा मुभमेन्ट हो त्यो मुभमेन्ट चाहिँ मेरो लागि एकदम मेमोरियल पनि छ
Dilip and Sisir's jump was more than a thrill. It was a loud scream demanding change, a call for accessible tourism.
एक्सेसिबिलिटीकै कुराहरू हुन्छ क्या हजुरको जस्तो अब मैले पोखरामा प्याराग्लाइडिङ गर्दाखेरि कायाकिङ गर्दाखेरि हैन अप्पर मुस्ताङ चाहिँ हजुरको चाहिँ त्यो अफ रोड गाडीमै जाँदाखेरिको कुराहरूमा चाहिँ अलिकति एक्सेसेबल अलिकति हामीलाई चाहिँ पहुँचयुक्त चाहिँ ठाउँहरू भएदेखि अलिकति सजिलो हुन्थ्यो भनौँ न अब यो झोलुङ्गे पुलहरूबाट गरिन्छ हैन त्यहाँ चाहिँ हल्का र्याम्प के जस्तो व्हिलचेयरकै लागि पनि एउटा स्ट्र्याप राख्दाखेरि त काठको एउटा भनौँ न त्यो फ्लोरिङ जस्तै टाइपले गरिदियो भने त हेल्प गर्ने असिस्ट गर्नेलाई पनि सजिलो हुने अनि हामीलाई पनि सजिलो हुने चाहिँ हुन्छ
Home Bahadur Tamang, a gifted Thanka artist from the spiritual heart of Bodha, has turned his craft into a global bridge between tradition and business.
थाङ्का चाहिँ मैले 1970 सिक्न सुरुवात गरेको मेरो टिचर चाहिँ म भन्दा अघिल्लो मेरो दाइ हो साइला दाइ मेरो चाहिँ बाउपादेखि नै कलाकार हुनुहुन्थ्यो पाटन भक्तपुर छामेल दरबार स्क्वायरमा यस्तै पसल बेच्ने काम हुन्थ्यो अनि त्यो बेच्दा मैले यो थाङ्का चाहिँ विदेशीले किन्दो रहेछ आफैले विदेशसँग बेच्नुपर्छ भन्ने अलिकति मनमा मलाई अलिकति सोच आयो त्यसपछि मैले 2050 सालमा यहाँ सुरु गरेँ आजभन्दा 32 वर्ष अगाडि
What began as a young artist's journey through the streets of Kathmandu has blossomed into a thriving enterprise where sacred art meets business and tourism. With every brushstroke, home brings Nepal's rich spiritual heritage to the world, transforming Thanka painting into a symbol of cultural fusion.
त्यो बेला चाहिँ पसल कोही पनि यहाँ थिएन किनभने त्यो मार्केटले चाहिँ कहाँ मार्केट हुन्छ भन्ने खोज्दो रहेछ त्यो खोज्ने क्रममा म यहाँ आइपुग्यो विदेशीहरू पनि यहाँ त्यति अहिले जस्तो बस्दैन 5 मिनेट 10 मिनेटमा घुमेर जानुहुन्थ्यो त्यतिखेर खाने रेस्टुरेन्ट पनि एकजना मात्रै थियो एउटा मात्रै थियो अहिले चाहिँ होस् त्यो बेला र अहिलेमा धेरै आकाश जमिनको फरक भएको छ
His story is one of passion, innovation, and a deep commitment to preserving tradition while embracing the future.
विशेष गरी यो बौद्ध स्तूपसँग रिलेटेड छ यो बुद्धको शिक्षासँग रिलेटेड यो थाङ्का चाहिँ संसारको मानिसहरू यो स्तूपलाई घुम्ने क्रममा यो प्रार्थना गर्ने मेन आउने ठाउँ चाहिँ यो रहेछ त्यसो भएको हुनाले यो चाहिँ विशेष गरी ओल्ड हेरिटेज साइटमा चाहिँ त्यो पनि के हो बुद्धिस्टको भएको हुनाले चाहिँ नेपालभरि कुनै थाङ्का बिक्ने ठाउँ चाहिँ अति महत्त्वपूर्ण चाहिँ यो नै हो वास्तवमा किनभने रिलेटेड छ यो बुद्धसँग
From the hills of Ramechhap to the heart of Bodha, Home Bahadur Damang has a glorious story to tell. A story of will, determination, struggle, and success.
म आफै पनि रामछाप दुर्गम जिल्लामा जन्मेको चाहिँ रोजगार छैन त्यहाँ स्कुल छैन कलेज छैन हस्पिटल छैन रोजगार छैन त्यसपछि म पनि रोजगारकै क्रममा यहाँ आएर मैले सुरुवात गर्यो अहिले चाहिँ म लगभग 49 वर्ष भयो यही पेसा गरेर दालभात खाएको अब नयाँ पुस्तालाई पनि मैले हस्तान्तरण गर्नुपर्छ है भन्ने मेरो एउटा उद्देश्यले चाहिँ अहिले मैले नयाँ पुस्तालाई चाहिँ गाउँबाट आउनुहुन्छ स्कुल सकेर अनि बिहान चाहिँ कलेज जानुहुन्छ दिउँसो काम छैन त्यस कारणले मैले 3 महिना फ्री ट्रेनिङ दिने गरेको छ उहाँको स्किल अनुसार टेस्ट गरेर हामीले यहीँ तलब दिएर जस्तो बिहान कलेज पनि भ्यायो उसो कति हो त्यसो त्यहाँबाट एक्स्ट्रा टाइम चाहिँ 5 घण्टा 6 घण्टा 7 घण्टा मैले पनि यहाँ जीवन चलाउने चाहिँ काम भइरहेको छ अहिले
For 49 years, he painted, taught, and empowered young artisans. Today, his school preserves tradition and creates futures.
हामीले यहाँ सुरुमा इन्टरभ्यू लिन्छु त्यसपछि एक हप्ता चाहिँ नि सानो र क्यानभासमा हात ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु त्यसको शरीरको बडीहरू अलिकति ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु अनि एक हप्तापछि ओके भनेर ओके यस भने कोही मानिस नसक्ने चाहिँ नि आधा घण्टामा 1 घण्टामा उठेर गइहाल्छ म सक्दैन ढाड दुख्यो किन उसको मन धेरै भएर गयो त्यो सक्दैन उ आउँदैन एक दिन पनि आउँदैन मात्रै आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो हामीले अपाङ्गलाई पनि सिकाएको छ जस्तो बाहिर कान नसुन्ने पनि सिकाएको छ आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो त्यस्तै हो
As interest in Buddhism grows worldwide, so does the appreciation for our sacred art. Foreigners now come not just to admire but to learn, studying our architecture techniques and meditative Thanka traditions, giving new life to what was once known only within our borders.
बुद्धिज्म नेपाल हो नेपालमा जति छन् विश्व सम्पदामा सूचीमा भएको मठ मन्दिर गुम्बद छ यसैबाट उहाँले पनि सिकेको वास्तवमा यो जुन बौद्ध स्तूपरा भनौँ लुम्बिनी त्यो जस्तो त उहाँहरूले बनाउन सक्दैन तर यसको चाहिँ एकदम महत्त्वपूर्ण के छ भगवान या चाहिँ दोस्रो तेस्रो बुद्धको रिलेटिभ यहाँ छ जति चाहिँ अहिले संसारमा यो बुद्धिज्म फैलिँदै जान्छ यो महायान बुद्धिज्म त्यतिकै ठाङ्गको भ्यालु चाहिँ बढ्दैछ अहिले जस्तो मेरै कुरा मैले 40-45 वर्ष यति ठाङ्गको महत्त्व थिएन किनभने वर्ल्ड वाइडमा बुद्धिज्ममा थिएन, विदेशहरूले जानेकै थिएन। उनीहरूले त्यो सुरसुर आउँदाखेरि सानोतिनो एउटा नेपाल आउँदाखेरि सुपर नेट किन नलैजाऊ भन्ने मात्रै लाग्थ्यो। अहिले चाहिँ उहाँहरू चाहिँ जस्तो अमेरिका, युरोप, तपाईँको यो सिङ्गापुर, ताइवान, मलेसिया विभिन्न देशमा चाहिँ अहिले बुद्धिस्ट प्र्याक्टिसनर धेरै उहाँहरू चाहिँ गर्नुहुन्छ। त्यसको लागि चाहिँ एकदमै महत्त्वपूर्ण छ। त्यस कारणले भविष्यमा यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ छ, यसको मार्केट छ।
Prime Minister Shah pledges stronger ties with friendly nations. Nepal commits to partnerships based on trust and mutual benefits. Arrest warrant issued for former Prime Minister Dewa and his spouse. Probe targets assets amid corruption investigation. Nepal's Education Ministry orders private schools to refund illegal fees, warns of legal action against non-compliance. Nepal raises public transport fares by 17%. Electric vehicles exempt as government pushes for cleaner, cost-efficient transport. US and Iran announce a suspension of all attacks for 2 weeks in exchange of Strait of Hormuz opening. Iran says upcoming talks don't guarantee end of war. And Bagmati beats Koshi by 7 wickets in Prime Minister Cup. Koshi suffers 6th straight loss, falls out of top 4 race. Good evening, I am Sarah Sapsanamarai and this is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. Ambassadors and heads of diplomatic missions resident in Kathmandu paid a joint courtesy call on Nepal's Prime Minister Balendra Shah at his office in Singhdarbar today. Representatives from India, Pakistan, South Korea, the UK, Qatar, Switzerland, France, Israel, Japan, Bangladesh, Germany, Egypt, Sri Lanka, Saudi Arabia, China, the US and the UN attended the meeting. The envoys congratulated the Prime Minister and conveyed greetings and messages from their respective heads of state and government. They also expressed their support and willingness to cooperate with Nepal's new administration to deliver results for the benefit of Nepali people. Highlighting Nepal's balanced and pragmatic foreign policy, Prime Minister Shah underscored the importance of deepening relations with immediate neighbors, friendly nations and development partners based on trust, mutual respect and shared prosperity. The Prime Minister expressed appreciation for the continued goodwill and support extended to Nepal's development initiatives. Emphasizing that peace must remain a shared priority, the Prime Minister also highlighted the government's commitment to ensuring the safety, security and well-being of Nepali workers and the broader Nepali diaspora. An arrest warrant has been issued against Nepal's former Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Dewa and his wife, former Foreign Minister Arju Rana Dewa, by a district court. This comes following an investigation into their assets under anti-corruption laws. Responding to the reports, Dewa said the allegations are false and misleading. In a social media statement, he maintained that he has regularly disclosed his family's assets to relevant authorities in line with Nepali law. Currently abroad for medical treatment, he said he will return soon and urged the public not to be misled by baseless claims. The Ministry of Education, Science and Technology has directed private schools in Nepal that collect fees above approved standards to return the amounts to students, and also warned of legal action against non-compliant institutions. The ministry had earlier issued instructions to correct practices where some schools were admitting students before the official start of the academic session and also charging fees exceeding legal limits in violation of the Education Act and Supreme Court orders. Despite these instructions, complaints persist that certain schools continue to charge unlawful fees. Under Section 166 of the Education Act, the ministry has reiterated that any illegally collected fees must be refunded, and failure to comply will lead to further legal proceedings. To assist students and parents, the ministry has also established a help desk at the Education and Human Resource Development Center for reporting complaints and facilitating refunds. Nepal's government has increased public transport fares by around 17% effective today, citing rising fuel costs. However, the Department of Transport Management clarified that the new rates will not apply to electric vehicles. Officials said the fare adjustment is based on changes in petroleum prices and an analysis of 13 indicators, and it applies only to passenger and cargo vehicles operating across provincial boundaries. Shorter routes within a city or province remain under provincial fare regulations. Meanwhile, electric vehicles continue to benefit from exemptions and also incentives as the government pushes forward with its plan to convert petrol and diesel-powered vehicles into electric. The move is part of Nepal's broader effort to reduce emissions, cut fuel imports, and promote cleaner, cost-effective transport. More on this in our issue of the day segment later in the bulletin. Now, the United States and Iran have reached a last-minute ceasefire agreement just 90 minutes before President Donald Trump's deadline. The deal brokered by Pakistan and dubbed the Islamabad Accords includes a 2-week suspension of U.S. and Israeli strikes, while Iran agrees to reopen the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. Talks are set to continue in Islamabad later this week. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif says the ceasefire takes immediate effect, although Benjamin Netanyahu has disputed its scope, particularly regarding Lebanon. Markets reacted quickly with oil prices plunging and U.S. stock futures rising on hopes of easing tensions. We'll delve deeper into the ceasefire in our cover story later. Moving on, Koshi province suffered its 6th consecutive defeat in the Prime Minister Cup National One-Day Cricket Tournament after losing to Bagmati province by 7 wickets. In Janakpur, Koshi had set a modest target of 100 runs, which Bagmati chased down in just 9 overs for the loss of 3 wickets. Bagmati captain Sandeep Lamichhane starred with the ball, taking 5 wickets for 33 runs in 7.2 overs. Other bowlers contributing to Koshi's collapse included Rijan Dhakal with 2 wickets. Pratesh GC and Ishan Pandey claimed 1 wicket each. Bagmati now has 6 points and sits in 7th position. Koshi, which shared points in its opening match, remains with just 1 point from 7 matches and is out of contention for the top 4 spots. In another match today, Madhya province defeated Gandaki by 18 runs under the Duckworth-Lewis method. Nepal is taking a bold step toward a cleaner future, now allowing petrol and diesel vehicles to go electric under its new 100 action plan. With legal barriers lifted, older vehicles could soon get a second life. But questions linger. Will high conversion costs stall the shift? Our issue of the day after this break. You're watching NTV World and this is News Hour. Welcome back. Nepal has approved the conversion of petrol and diesel vehicles into electric under its 100 Action Plan, aiming to cut emissions and fuel imports. The decision allows older vehicles to be retrofitted, removing previous legal restrictions. Authorities are now preparing a framework to regulate implementation, although concerns over high conversion costs remain among the public. Sabika Shrestha brings a report.
The government's approval on converting internal combustion engine ICE vehicles into electric vehicles EVs is Nepal's yet another step toward cleaner and more sustainable transportation. For a country that stands as one of the top 5 importers of EVs in the world, the cabinet decision allows older petrol and diesel vehicles to be retrofitted with electric systems. Though the policy-level decision has been done, the nitty-gritties are yet to be cleared. As per existing law, modifying the engine of any vehicle is illegal in Nepal. The cabinet decision has removed the long-standing legal barriers that previously prohibited modifications to a vehicle's original structure. The move is expected to extend the lifespan of aging vehicles while reducing the country's heavy reliance on imported fossil fuels. Targeting high-emission vehicles, the policy prioritizes petrol cars older than 15 years and diesel vehicles over 10 years, many of which were nearing mandatory phase-out. Ministry of Physical Infrastructure and Transport will now develop a detailed regulatory framework within 3 months. The plan includes establishing certified conversion centers, approving standardized EV kits, and ensuring safety and quality control. Officials say the initiative builds on successful pilot projects led by innovators, including the National Innovation Center, demonstrating the feasibility of local EV conversion.
नेपाल सरकारले चाहिँ आइस भेहिकल भन्छ हैन डिजल र पेट्रोलबाट चल्ने सवारीहरूलाई चाहिँ विद्युतीय ऊर्जाबाट चल्ने सवारीमा परिवर्तन गर्ने त्यसले कन्भर्जन भन्छ हैन कन्भर्जन गर्ने नीति चाहिँ ल्याएको छ अब त्यो नीतिसँग मिल्ने गरी हामीले अब मापदण्डहरू त्यो गर्दाखेरि के प्रक्रिया अपनाउनु पर्ने कसले गर्ने कसरी गर्ने भन्ने कुराहरुको लागि एउटा कार्यविधि जस्तो हुनुपर्छ त्यो कार्यविधि बनाउनको लागि अब त्यसको लागि विज्ञको टोली हुन्छ प्राविधिकहरुको टोली हुन्छ त्यो टोली मार्फत त्यो काम हुने हो त्यो काम गर्न बाँकी छ अहिले.
However, concerns over multiple issues related to conversion remains to be answered.
पेट्रोलहरु बढिरहेको वातावरणको प्रदूषणको कारणले एकदमै राम्रो छ तर अलि हिजो साझा बसको 80 लाख रायो भन्ने सुन्दाखेरि अलि बढी खर्चिलो भयो हो कि त्यसलाई मितव्ययी कसरी बनाउने त्यसको लागि हामी पनि एकदमै इन्ट्रेस्ट छौं हाम्रो पनि त ठुलठुला गाडीहरु टोयोटाका गाडीहरु अब 25 वर्ष पुगेर कमर्सियल युज गर्ने गाडीलाई तपाई प्राइभेट बनाउन खोज्दै अलिकति गाह्रो भइरहेको छ अनि मितव्ययी रूपमा आयो भने एकदमै राम्रो स्वागतयोग्य छ.
With Nepal increasingly leveraging its hydropower resources, the policy is expected to align the transport sector with domestic clean energy, marking a significant step toward a greener future. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
Nepal is emerging as a surprising global leader in electric mobility, with electric vehicles making up 73% of new car sales in 2025, second only to Norway. Driven by hydropower-based electricity, favorable tax policies and rising fuel prices, the country is rapidly shifting toward cleaner transport, although expanding charging infrastructure and lowering EV costs remain key challenges. Our colleague Diksha Awasthi explores the ways to make Nepal's mobility cleaner and sustainable.
Nepal is quietly becoming a global leader in electric mobility. In 2025, the country ranked second globally in the share of new electric car sales, surging to 73% from just 8% in 2019. Norway tops the list, where nearly 97% of newly sold cars are electric. This places Nepal ahead of many developed economies in the transition toward cleaner, sustainable transport. The surge is also visible in import data. In fiscal year 2024-25, according to the Department of Customs, Nepal imported 44,534 electric vehicles, including scooters, motorcycles, three-wheelers, cars, vans, microbuses, and buses worth over 43.99 billion rupees. As of mid-2025, Nepal has also significantly expanded its electric vehicle infrastructure with around 1,511 charging stations across the country. Experts say several factors are driving this shift: lower import taxes on EVs, rising fuel prices, and Nepal's clean electricity largely generated from hydropower. Because over 90% of Nepal's electricity comes from hydropower, EVs offer a cleaner and more sustainable alternative to fossil fuel vehicles. The benefits of EVs are significant. They reduce fuel imports, lower carbon emissions, and help tackle air pollution, a major concern in cities like Kathmandu, who also ranks as the most polluted city globally. EVs also cost far less to operate compared to conventional vehicles. However, challenges remain. Charging infrastructure outside major cities is still limited, battery recycling systems are underdeveloped, and the high upfront price of EVs continues to discourage many buyers. Experts say that for Nepal to sustain this momentum, the government must expand nationwide charging networks, maintain stable tax policies, encourage EV assembly or manufacturing, and electrify public transport systems just as buses and taxis. And this is where the automobile industry also sees room for improvement.
EV कसरी बढ्छ पनि अब आजको दिनमा सेल्स कसरी बढाउने भन्दा लोन टु भ्यालुको कुरा छ। पहिला हामीसँग 80% लोन चाहिँ बैंकबाट फाइनान्स हुन्थ्यो भने आजको दिनमा चाहिँ हामी 60% मात्रै फाइनान्स गरिरहेको छौं। भन्दा त्यो चीजलाई चाहिँ हामीले पहिलाको जस्तै गरेर 80% बढाउन सक्यौं। एउटा आम नागरिकले चाहिँ गाडी चढ्न सक्ने अवस्था बनाउन सक्यौं र म पनि गाडी चढ्न सक्छु है नेपालमा बसेर भनेर सरकारले त्यो गर्न सक्यो भने मलाई लाग्छ बिस्तारै यातायात सबैको पहुँचमा पनि पुग्छ। अनि त्यो यातायातको पहुँच पुगिसकेपछि जुन हिसाबले अहिले बिस्तारै ईभी बढिरहेछ पेनिट्रेसन अनि ईभी को पनि माग बढ्ने अनि सबैजनाको सहज र सहजता हुने भए कारणले गर्दा वातावरण मैत्री हुने।
As Nepal accelerates its electric mobility journey, the challenge now is not just increasing EV imports, but building the infrastructure, policies, and industry that can sustain a truly green transport future. Nepal is already the world's second largest EV importer by percentage, with enormous hydropower potential to generate electricity. The country holds a rare advantage: the ability to power its future mobility with its own renewable energy. Diksha Awasthi with camera person Anup Khimere reporting for NTV World.
Meanwhile, public transport operator Saja Yatayat has become one among the first to initiate the transition, positioning itself at the forefront of Nepal's shift toward electric mobility. The cooperative currently runs a mixed fleet of electric and fuel-powered buses and has already prepared the necessary infrastructure to support large-scale conversion. Aprila Kissing Lama with Kamala Aryal brings this report.
Nepal is taking steps to convert petrol and diesel-powered vehicles to electric. Saja Yatayat, the country's shared transport operator, is among the first to adopt the initiative. The company currently operates 40 electric buses and 71 fuel-powered buses. While the concept was introduced in 2021, technical uncertainties have delayed full implementation. According to Saja Yatayat's CEO, Bhupendra Aryal, once the standards are in place, they can convert their fuel buses into electric ones.
नीतिगत रूपमै अप्ठ्यारो परेको कारणले बस अहिले पनि सञ्चालनमा छ तर प्रिमिसेस भन्दा बाहिर सञ्चालन गर्न सकिने अवस्था छैन। हिजैबाट यो कार्यमा छलफल अगाडि बढिसकेको छ र हाम्रो पोजिसन के हो त भन्दाखेरि टेक्निकल्ली हामीसँग एक्सपर्टिज छ तर यो एक्सपर्टिजले पनि नपुग्न सक्छ किनभने अब कन्भर्जन गर्दा हिजो जुन बस कन्भर्जन गरेका छौं जुन टेक्नोलोजीहरु हामीले युज गरेका छौं हुन सक्छ त्यो फेरि यो प्र्याक्टिसमा बाहिर नआइसकेको हुनाले त्यसको प्रो एन्ड कन्स चाहिँ हामीलाई त्यसले पार्ने प्रभावहरु अझ यो बस चलाइसकेकै अनुभव हुन्थ्यो भने त्यसले अझ हामीलाई चाहिँ यो गर्नु पर्दो रहेछ भन्ने खालको लेसनहरु दिन्थ्यो।
The cost per large bus is around $30,000 to $34,000 and conversion could take up to a month. Officials say the shift is electric vehicles could reduce fuel and maintenance costs, ease the burden of rising petroleum prices, and improve environmental conditions. The government also emphasizes broader economic benefits, including increased use of domestic electricity and lower operating costs compared with traditional engines.
Now, while authorities and operators push ahead with plans to convert fuel-powered vehicles into electric, questions remain over how practical and affordable the transition will be. Today, we ask the public on their say on this in our Public Pulse segment.
चुनौतीहरू त्यही हो अब घामहरू परेको बेला ओभरहिट हुन्छ अब गाडीहरू जल्ने सम्भावना हुन्छ नि त अनि त्यो पनि हो अब के गरी ब्याट्रीहरू बिग्रियो भने त्यसको अब मेन्टेन गर्नलाई त्यसको पैसा पनि एक्सपेन्सिभ हुन्छ अनि ब्याट्री किन्न पनि त्यस्तो बित्ति सकिदैन नि त नर्मल मान्छेले अनि पोल्युसन अब एडभान्टेज भनेको अब इभीले पोल्युसन म्यानेज हुन्छ अनि हाम्रो यो अब जुन ओइल क्राइसिस भइराछ नि अब त्यो पनि मेन्टेन भयो त्यति बित्ति खर्च पनि भएन
चुनौतीहरू छ दुर्गम ठाउँमा गयो भने चार्जिङ स्टेसनहरू छैन अब त्यही अनुसारले बनाउने ठाउँहरू पनि छैन अहिले हैन इलेक्ट्रिक भेहिकल्सहरू बनाउने ठाउँ पनि छैन अनि पेट्रोल जस्तो पिकअपहरू नहोला अब त्यस्तै डाँडाहरूतिर भनौँ न गाउँहरूमा जाँदा त त्यही अनुसारको ठाउँ हुँदैन हैन
राम्रो लागेको आइडिया हो तर अब त्यो भन्दा भन्दै पनि हजुरको कतिको रिलायबल हुन्छ भन्ने चिज पनि म्याटर गर्छ बिकज अब हामीले कन्भर्टेड गाडी बनाउनको लागि मात्रै कन्भर्टेड गाडी बनाउने हो कि रिलायबल हजुरको सेफ्टी रिलेटेड कुराहरू यो सबै चाहिँ हजुरको कन्सिडर गरेर बनाउने हो त्यसमा पनि म्याटर गर्छ किन एट द एन्ड अफ द डे सेफ्टी म्याटर्स हैन अब रिसोर्सेसको हिसाबले अब कम्प्लिटली इलेक्ट्रिकमा जाने हो भने नेपालको लागि इट्स भेरी बिग थिङ हैन त्यो एकदमै राम्रो चिज हो हामी अरूमा डिपेन्ड हुनु परेन जुन हिसाबले अहिले अब यो मिडल इस्टको वारको कारणले जुन पेट्रोल डिजलमा अहिले हामीलाई जुन सर्टेजहरू भइरहेछ जुन गाह्रो भइरहेछ त्यो थर्ड प्रोसेसले चाहिँ इट्स भेरी गुड थिङ तर अब त्यो भन्दैमा कन्भर्ट हुनको लागि मात्रै हुनु भएन
राम्रो कुरा हो किन भन्दा आइसी इन्जिन तपाईँको इभीमा चेन्ज भयो भने हामीले आफ्नै देशमा उत्पादन भएको बिजुलीबाट गाडी चलाउन पाउँछौँ अरूलाई पैसा तिर्नु पर्दैन धेरै कुरा छ तर प्र्याक्टिकली पोसिबल छ छैन त्यसको बारेमा म त्यति जानकार छैन अब उहाँहरूले रिसर्च गर्नुभयो होला धेरै बुझ्नुभयो होला त्यो भएको भएर म आइएम 50-50 50% मा छु
सरकारले गर्न खोजेको चिज चाहिँ राम्रो हो हैन अब सरकारले चाहिँ फिजिबिलिटी हेरेर मेन चिज चाहिँ हाम्रो सेक्युरिटी त्यो कम्प्रोमाइज हुनु भएन हैन के छ अब हामी त जानकार होइन नि त हामी त चेन्ज गर्न त अभियसली अब हाम्रो फ्युचरै चाहिँ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी हो हाम्रो स्ट्रेन्थ पनि त्यही हो त्यो भएपछि इलेक्ट्रिसिटीमा सिफ्ट गर्न चाहने त त्यो राम्रो हो तर सरकारले अथवा जसले ह्यान्डल गर्छ त्यसले चाहिँ हाम्रो सेक्युरिटीको ग्यारेन्टी दिन सक्नु पर्यो
गभर्मेन्टको डिसिजन चाहिँ एकदम राम्रो नै लाग्यो किनकि अहिले हाम्रो नेपालमा धेरै पोल्युसनहरू भइरहेको छ अब मान्छेहरूले पनि गाडी चलाउँदै धेरै धुवाहरू आएको छ त्यसैको लागि अब मान्छेहरूले इलेक्ट्रिक गाडीतिर स्विच हुँदाखेरि धेरै राम्रो हुन्छ
That was our issue of the day. Now, a breakthrough few saw coming. Washington and Tehran agreed to a temporary ceasefire after months of rising tensions. Hope spreads across the region and beyond. But as world leaders react and violence flares elsewhere, the big question remains, is this peace or just a pause? We'll look into it in our cover story after this breather. You're watching News Hour here on NTV World. I am Sarah Sapsanamarai. Welcome back. A historic and, for many, unexpected breakthrough in the Middle East. After months of escalating tensions and back-channel negotiations, the US and Iran have officially agreed to a comprehensive ceasefire. The ripples of this diplomatic milestone are being felt around the world, but nowhere more intensely than on the streets of Tehran. More on this report.
این پیروزی را به همه مردم ایران تبریک میگوییم و تأکید میکنیم که هنوز تا نهایی شدن جزئیات این پیروزی
The news broke not with a political rally, but with a sudden, stark interruption on Iranian state television. The usual broadcast was replaced by a single, bold graphic reading, "Ceasefire reached." The broadcast triggered an eruption of pure relief, a spontaneous outpouring of joy at the Azadi Square in Tehran. Thousands of Iranians flooded the streets of the capital, bringing traffic to a standstill. For a population that was threatened minutes earlier of being wiped out and wary of crippling economic sanctions, the news was simply about survival and hope. The deal, brokered by probably the most unexpected country, Pakistan, and finalized in Geneva with the help of Omani mediators, puts an immediate halt to all direct and proxy hostilities. In exchange for strict, internationally verified caps on Tehran's military and nuclear posturing, the US has agreed to unfreeze billions in targeted assets and suspend a series of secondary sanctions. Though the US said it is not a final treaty, it is a crucial step back from the brink. The fragility of this agreement will be tested daily, especially with Israel carrying out a wave of airstrikes in southern Lebanon Wednesday morning. As Iran claims, Syria and Lebanon are also part of the ceasefire, but Israeli attack is an indication that it does not consider the US-Iran ceasefire deal applies to Lebanon. But for tonight, the geopolitical chess match has taken a backseat to the human reality. For now, the guns are silent and the streets of Tehran are alive with the sounds of a people celebrating peace.
Now, world leaders have welcomed the announcement of a 2-week ceasefire between the US and Iran, aimed at pausing hostilities and reopening diplomatic channels. China said it supports mediation efforts and has made its own contributions to encourage a truce.
首先，中方对有关方面宣布达成停火安排表示欢迎。我们支持巴基斯坦等国所做的斡旋努力。中方一贯主张尽快停火止战，通过政治外交途径化解争端，最终实现中东和海湾地区的长治久安。中方也为此做出了自己的努力。
Si nous aurons à y revenir et à coordonner la manœuvre pour permettre d'être utile.
A seguito di queste ultime ore di grande tensione per il Medio Oriente e per tutto il mondo, accolgo con soddisfazione e come segno di viva speranza l'annuncio di una tregua immediata di 2 settimane. Solo attraverso il ritorno al negoziato si può giungere alla fine della guerra.
Israeli airstrikes struck areas around Sidon, despite the 2-week ceasefire agreed between the US and Iran. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Lebanon is not included in the truce, citing security concerns.
الجميع كان ينتظر الأخبار تطور المباحثات وكان الجميع يأمل أن نصل إلى نتائج نسبيا إيجابية فإذا بهذه المزرة التي تقع ونحن نقول أن الاستهداف ربما مستمر نأمل أن يكون لبنان جزءا من هذه المفاوضات.
That was our cover story of the day. On to other news, Nepal's House of Representatives will hold the Deputy Speaker election on Friday. House Speaker Dol Prasad Aryal, under Rule 8 of the House's Rules of Procedure, announced the date today at the House sitting. Today's session also included the presentation of the 7th Annual Report of National Natural Resources and Finance Commission by Minister Geeta Chaudhary and a proposal for the Alternative Development Finance Mobilization Bill by Finance Minister Swarnim Wagle. Lawmakers urged the government to set a minimum tea price, address Dalit discrimination, support Jajarkot earthquake victims, regulate border traffic, establish a trauma center in Sarlahi and ensure timely fertilizer supply. The next House session is scheduled for Friday at 4 p.m. Meanwhile, during today's zero-hour debate in the National Assembly, Lawmakers echoed concerns raised in the House of Representatives earlier this week, calling on the government to ensure timely provision of fertilizers, seeds and other agricultural inputs to support farmers. Members also urged the government to tackle rising petroleum prices, strengthen long-term plans for agricultural self-reliance, and also invest in underdeveloped regions like Karnali despite its abundant natural resources. Lawmakers highlighted urgent social issues including the February 30 rape case in Subsidiary and demanded immediate government action for justice. National Assembly member Rekha Kumari emphasized protecting crops from wildlife damage while ensuring farmers have the resources they need. The upper house calls mirror the House's recent discussions on development, good governance and citizen welfare, signaling coordinated pressure across Nepal's legislature. President Ramchandra Paudel is set to address the joint session of both the houses of Nepal's federal parliament on Friday. According to the Office of the President, at recommendation of the Council of Ministers, is scheduled to address the joint session of both the houses at 3 p.m. on Friday, as per Article 95 of the Constitution. The President called all members of both upper and lower houses for their presence. The first meeting of Nepal's Constitution Amendment Drafting Committee convened today at the office of the Prime Minister. Chaired by Asim Shah, political advisor to Prime Minister Balendra Shah, the committee thanked the government for its formation and outlined its mandate to draft a discussion paper on constitutional amendments. The meeting concluded that no constitutional amendments should compromise Nepal's sovereignty, territorial integrity or constitutional provisions. Participants discussed election systems, directly elected executives, proportional representation, non-NP ministers, non-partisan local governance and provincial restructuring. Representatives from major parties and legal experts emphasized inclusive debate, expert consultation and consideration of long-term impacts. The government reaffirmed its commitment to dialogue with all stakeholders, aiming for consensus-driven constitutional reforms. Now, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nepal presented the Foreign Affairs and Diplomatic Code of Conduct to all ministers in the government, led by Prime Minister Balendra Shah. The presentation, delivered by Foreign Secretary Amrit Bahadur Rai at the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers office in Singhadarwar, covered Nepal's international relations, foreign policy priorities and the promotion of national interests. In his presentation, Secretary Rai had given special emphasis to the priorities of Nepal's foreign policy, the balance of relationships and the technical aspects of diplomatic protocol. Special emphasis was given to balancing relationships, adhering to diplomatic protocol and understanding both general etiquette and technical aspects during meetings with foreign officials. Nepal today marked the 10th Health Insurance Day under the theme State Investment, Citizens' Contribution, highlighting the country's efforts to provide financial protection and expand access to healthcare. Launched in 2016 and expanded nationwide under the Health Insurance Board, the program allows citizens, including families below the poverty line, to access health services worth up to 100,000 rupees, equivalent to $610 annually for a small yearly premium. Today, it operates through 510 hospitals and covers nearly a quarter of Nepal's population. But the celebrations come amid a growing crisis. Tribhuvan University Teaching Hospital, one of Nepal's largest government hospitals, halted insurance services from January, citing nearly 4 years of unpaid government reimbursements. This totals around $2.4 million. Payments in other hospitals also remain pending. Officials of the Ministry of Health acknowledged the strain, citing delayed payments, overuse of services and the economic slowdown. For millions, the scheme has meant access to care they could never afford otherwise. But the growing financial crisis now threatens its survival. Moving on, a significant number of private health facilities in Nepal are not fully compliant with government health standards, despite mandatory legal requirements. Weak monitoring and enforcement have been often blamed for the negligence. Non-compliance in sensitive sector like healthcare can have severe and potentially life-threatening consequences. Ruchina Rai with our local correspondent Bhavna Rijal from Makwanpur brings the report.
The government of Nepal mandates comprehensive health standards focused on quality, safety and equitable access through frameworks such as the National Health Policy 2019. These standards regulate infrastructures, human resources, emergency services, water, sanitation and hygiene in health facilities. However, routine inspections conducted across various healthcare facilities in Makwanpur district, Nepal, have revealed serious concerns regarding public health compliance and systemic negligence. Many private healthcare centers operating in the district were found to be non-compliant with the minimum health services standard. An inspection led by the district administration office, Makwanpur, identified that several hospitals, polyclinics and pharmacies were providing services without meeting even basic requirements. At Sancho Hospital, services were being operated without valid license renewal. The emergency unit lacked essential medical supplies, including medicines and expired drugs, were found to be improperly stored and unmanaged. Similarly, Makwanpur Cooperative Hospital and Ramjanaki Medical Hall were found to be operating beyond their approved capacity of 25 beds, whereas a pharmacy at a city hospital was operating without a licensed pharmacist. Although authorized to sell allopathic medicines, the facility was also found selling Ayurvedic products and cosmetic without proper authorization.
औषधि पसलमा हुनुपर्ने जनशक्ति जस्तै चाहिँ औषधि बिक्री वितरणको लागि मापदण्ड अनुसार तोकिएको छ त्यो अनुसारको जनशक्ति नभएको कारणले गर्दा अस्पतालमा चाहिँ हामीले फार्मेसीलाई बन्द गरेका छौं उहाँहरूले सचेत पनि गराएका छौं पूर्वाधारहरू त्यसपछि औजार उपकरणहरू जनशक्तिहरू पुरा गर्नको लागि र त्यसै अनुसार सेवा उपलब्ध गराउनको लागि गुणस्तरीय सेवा उपलब्ध गराउनको लागि हामी सचेत गरेका छौं.
In a sector as sensitive as healthcare, such negligence can pose a serious risk to human life if not addressed promptly through effective government monitoring and enforcement. Rosina Rai with Bhavana Rizal from Makwanpur reporting for NTV World.
International news coming up next. For now, a quick recap of the headlines. Prime Minister Balendra Shah pledges stronger ties with friendly nations. Nepal commits to partnerships based on trust and mutual benefits. Arrest warrant issued for former Prime Minister Dewa and his spouse. Probe targets assets amid corruption investigation. Nepal's Education Ministry orders private schools to refund illegal fees, warns of legal action against non-compliance. Nepal raises public transport fares by 17%. Electric vehicles exempt as government pushes for cleaner, cost-efficient transport. US and Iran announce a suspension of all attacks for 2 weeks in exchange of Strait of Hormuz opening. Iran says upcoming talks don't guarantee end of war. And Bagmati beats Koshi by 7 wickets in Prime Minister Cup. Koshi suffers 6 straight loss, falls out of top 4 race. A nighttime Russian strike hit the Romny community in Sumy region, Ukraine on April 8, killing at least 1 person and injuring 3 others. Firefighters battled multiple fires caused by the strike, working under the ongoing threat of additional attacks. Romny, located near Ukraine's northeastern border, has been repeatedly targeted since the conflict escalated last year. The strike destroyed homes and infrastructure, forcing emergency crews to provide aid to affected residents. The attack comes amid continued military operations in the region, highlighting the persistent risks to civilians. North Korea fired multiple ballistic missiles on both Tuesday and Wednesday, 2 back-to-back launch days, with South Korea's military detecting the Wednesday launch from the Wonsan area toward the East Sea. The missiles traveled approximately 150 miles. This marks the 4th confirmed ballistic missile test by Pyongyang this year. The launches came after South Korean President Lee Jae-myung expressed regret on Monday over civilian drone flights into North Korea in January, calling the incursions irresponsible. U.S. Indo-Pacific Command said it is consulting closely with allies and assessed the launches pose no immediate threat to U.S. personnel, territory or its allies in the region. The consecutive launches are widely seen as Pyongyang's pointed response to Seoul's peace overtures. India's Election Commission has finalized preparations for the State Assembly elections scheduled on April 8 in Assam, Kerala and Puducherry. In Kerala, elaborate arrangements are in place to ensure smooth and secure polling. Strong rooms storing electronic voting machines have been opened under tight security. The machines are being dispatched to polling stations across all constituencies. Kerala will elect its 16th Legislative Assembly with the ruling Left Democratic Front aiming for an unprecedented third consecutive term. A total of 27.1 million voters are eligible to cast their ballots in this crucial election. With campaigning officially ending on Tuesday evening, candidates are now focusing on direct voter engagement to secure support from all sections of the electorate. NASA's Artemis second crew, 4 astronauts aboard the Orion spacecraft, is now on its way back to Earth after completing a record-breaking trip around the moon, traveling farther from Earth than any humans ever before. The crew set a new record on April 6th, reaching a distance of 252,760 miles from Earth. It surpassed the previous mark set by Apollo 13 mission in 1970. During the lunar flyby, the crew witnessed or photographed a total solar eclipse from behind the moon, a sight never before seen by human eyes. Splashdown is scheduled for Friday, April 10th off the coast of San Diego, California. The mission is part of NASA's broader Artemis program, which aims to return astronauts to the lunar surface as early as 2028. Business news coming up next. For now, a short breather.
The announcement of a 2-week ceasefire between the United States and Iran sent shockwaves through global commodity markets on Tuesday, triggering one of the most dramatic single-session swings in oil prices in recent memory. NYMEX crude oil futures, which had surged to an intraday high of nearly $118 a barrel amid the war tension, plunged to below $92 within hours of the ceasefire announcement, a drop of more than 22%. The price has since partially recovered, stabilizing at around $100 a barrel. Meanwhile, precious metals moved sharply in the opposite direction. June gold futures on the New York Mercantile Exchange climbed above $4,800 per ounce, with gains at one point approaching 4%, while May silver futures surged more than 6.5%, topping $76 per ounce. The ceasefire also weakened the US dollar, which further supported the rise in gold prices. Markets are now watching closely whether the Strait of Hormuz, through which around 20% of the world's oil normally flows, will reopen fully and whether the 2-week pause holds. As the oil prices around the world continue to fluctuate due to the Middle East tension, Tesla, the US car maker, has announced major slash in price. The move comes amid intensifying competition in the global electric vehicle sector. Tesla has reduced prices of several models in major markets including China and United States. The company aims to boost demand and maintain market share as rivals expand production. Price adjustments have become more frequent across the EV industry in recent months. The strategy may put pressure on competitors and overall profit margins. Apple is rolling out expanded artificial intelligence features across its devices and services. The update aims to enhance user experience through improved automation and personalization. The company is focusing on integrating AI into everyday applications. This comes as major tech firms compete to strengthen their AI ecosystems. The rollout is expected to reach users in phases over the coming months. Boeing is facing new delays in aircraft deliveries due to ongoing production challenges. The issue is affecting airline schedules and fleet expansion plans globally. Regulatory scrutiny and supply chain constraints continue to impact output. Airlines are adjusting operations as they wait for pending deliveries. The delays add pressure on the aviation sector's recovery and growth outlook.
And with that, we move on to sports update. The Russian Olympic Committee is set to provide cash payments to 116 athletes who were barred from competing at the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan and Cortina. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, athletes from Russia and Belarus have been banned from competing under their national flags at many international sporting events. A limited number were allowed to participate as neutral athletes at the Winter Games in Italy, but most could not attend. ROC chairman and Russian sports minister Mikhail Dektarev said the payments are meant as bonuses for athletes prevented from competing due to political restrictions. Only one Russian athlete, Nikita Filipov, won a medal at the Winter Olympics, taking silver in ski mountaineering. The committee continues to allow eligible Russian and Belarusian athletes to compete as neutrals, provided they meet strict criteria, including not supporting the war. Time now for the weather update, first from across Nepal and then the world. Before wrapping up, here's a look into the top stories once again. Prime Minister Balinder Shah pledges stronger ties with friendly nations. Nepal commits to partnerships based on trust and mutual benefits. Arrest warrant issued for former Prime Minister Dewa and his spouse. Probe targets assets amid corruption investigation. Nepal's Education Ministry orders private schools to refund illegal fees, warns of legal action against non-compliance. Nepal raises public transport fares by 17%. Electric vehicles exempt as government pushes for cleaner, cost-efficient transport. The US and Iran announced a suspension of all attacks for 2 weeks in exchange of Strait of Hormuz opening. Iran says upcoming talks don't guarantee end of war. And Bagmati beats Koshi by 7 wickets in Prime Minister Cup. Koshi suffers 6th straight loss, falls out of top 4 race. That brings us to the end of this edition of News Hour here on NTV World. Do join us through our social media pages and also visit our website, nepaltelevision.com. I am Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thanks for staying with us. Good night.